Chapter 90. Muban's narration was very clear. His psychological impression of Junjin as a hero arranged by God to save them was also very natural. Junjin remained silent. His heart was greatly moved by Muban's last words. If all of this is God's arrangement, then why is there no response to my prayers? As a holy knight, shouldn't I be under the Shengming Emperor's watch at all times? Could it be that the lack of response to my prayers is the Shengming Emperor's arrangement? Or all of this is the Shengming Emperor's special test for me? The magic core in my heart is also part of the test. Wait a minute. You're saying that a few days ago, you were teleported here? Song Su, who was also listening on the side, asked at this moment. Yes. To be precise, it was 5 days ago. Muban replied. Song Su and Junjin looked at each other. They didn't doubt Muban's words. After all, if they lied about this point, it would be very easy to see through. There were still so many people here. Of course, they couldn't rule out the possibility that everyone was colluding. But this possibility wasn't high. The most important thing was that lying about this point didn't benefit them at all. Sigh. Song Su sighed. I didn't expect so many things to happen in the camp after I left. Junjin's face was calm. This is very normal. You and I have both experienced it before. Helplessly watching food run out or under the pressure of death, people will often be driven mad. They will fall into hysteria and do something abnormal. Lan Zhao was touched by these words. He slightly lowered his eyes. Because of the excessive force he used to hold the hilt of his sword, blue veins appeared on his hand. His steady breathing also became chaotic. And a true leader shouldn't be swallowed by his own selfish desires and become a parasite that sucks the lives and blood of his subordinates. The first mate has already received his due. If it were me, I would personally lead the second exploration team into the rainforest to find more food and water for everyone after the exploration team mysteriously disappeared. This is what a leader should do, Junjin continued. Lan Zhao stood behind Junjin and looked at the young knight's back. His dark eyes lit up again, and his breathing became calm again. In front of everyone, Song Su loudly praised. My lord, I do not doubt your determination to carry out all of this. Your valor and your virtues are the reason why we are gathered by your side, and why we obey all your commands. This island was the land of demons, full of hardships and dangers. Muban is right. You are the hero sent by God to save us. It's just that, Lord Junjin, I'm very worried about something right now. She saw the old shipwright, and the others went to cut down wood, and they haven't returned yet. Oh, Junjin frowned and looked at Muban. Before they left, when did they agree to return? Muban looked at the sky. According to the agreement, they should have returned to the camp 15 minutes ago. Could it be that they were also attacked by the horde of beasts? Muban's face was full of worry. Don't worry. There's Blockhead. Fat Tongue said. Heiwan shook his head and said in a deep voice, although Blockhead has the blood of giants, and his life rating has reached the level of black iron, but he only relies on brute force, and has not practiced any martial arts. What if he encounters the silver rhinoceros that just destroyed the wooden house? Even if there's no silver magical beast, Blockhead's life will be in danger if he is surrounded by a group of bat monkeys. The level of life rating doesn't mean victory or defeat. Lord Junjin, there's one more thing that I'm very concerned about. Song Su continued. Why did the bat monkeys and the silver rhinoceros attack the camp? 5 days ago, they were teleported to the forest and began to repair the camp. In the past 5 days, they were attacked by the horde of beasts. Junjin's frown deepened. Song Su, what you're saying is that if this camp invaded the territory of the horde of beasts, they should have attacked on the first or second day. Delaying the attack until the 5th day, this is indeed very strange. Also, Song Su continued, why would the silver rhinoceros and the bat horde attack this place together? These are 2 different types of magical beasts. And after the silver rhinoceros crashed into the wooden house, it left the camp. This action is very unnatural. Although there's not enough evidence, I have an indescribable feeling. It's like they're being manipulated by someone. Manipulated by someone? Hearing this, the others couldn't help but look at each other. Could it be that the other side has a beast tamer or a beast tamer? Fat Tongue asked. Song Su said in a low voice, they don't necessarily need a beast tamer. Actually, wild beasts, even magical beasts, most of them have low intelligence. As long as you're familiar with their habits, you can use them. For example, we can use the feces of high-level magical beasts and place them around the camp to drive away low-level magical beasts. Also, when we fish, we use bait. Don't these all affect the behavior of these wild creatures? Hearing this, Zidi's face changed slightly, a chill rising in her heart. She looked at Jinjin and called out, "My lord, that armor plate." Just as she opened her mouth, Jinjin had already taken out the armor plate. Who among you is wearing armor made of this material? Jinjin also realized something and asked anxiously. Mu Ban shook his head. As you can see, my lord, this is a high-quality steel. We can't afford to use this kind of high-quality goods. Most of our warriors wear leather armor. Even if we do, it's half a set of iron armor. We don't have this kind of steel armor. It's him. Fat Tongue suddenly shouted, his face full of panic. Who is he? Jinjin narrowed his eyes and immediately asked. It's Zongo. Heiwan continued his words with a nervous face. On the entire ship, only Zongu has such a high-quality armor. I've seen him wear it many times. When he defeated Zongu, he was wearing a steel armor. This should be the armor plate he's wearing. Impossible, Mu Ban denied. How could Zongu be nearby? We've already shaken him off. No, you were teleported here. ZD's eyes flashed. Didn't you just say? Zongu was chasing you, and you were suddenly teleported. Zongji's group could also have been teleported. Jinjin's fingers rubbed the broken armor plate, his face serious. All the clues showed that Zongji's group was also teleported here. The traces that Jinjin saw before were left by Zongji's group. The reason why they cleaned the battlefield was to guard against Shi, Suo, and Mu Ban's group. It must be Zongu, Heiwan suddenly said firmly. The bat monkeys and the silver rhinoceros were also lured here by Zongji's group to attack my camp. Song Su was slightly stunned. Do you have any proof? Don't forget, he's a beast man. He must have some kind of connection with the beasts. He must have a way to influence the beasts. Heiwan said. Jinjin shook his head slightly. The blood of beastmen and half-beastmen does allow them to get close to wild beasts, but this doesn't prove that Zongu and his men are the murderers who plotted against the camp. In fact, the penetrating wound on the captain's body is also not enough to prove that Zongu is the murderer. Sir, Heiwan placed his hand on his chest and bowed to Jinjin. You are indeed a holy knight, always upholding the spirit of fairness. But my suspicion of Zongu is not without basis. He has undergone strict combat training. Heiwan continued. Everyone looked at each other. Heiwan continued. Every mercenary, or every sailor, has undergone combat training. The combat training I'm talking about is not ordinary training, but military training. Believe me, I'm sure that he has served in the military. Only by going through strict military training and serving in the military would he have the aura of a soldier. I'm very clear about this. Zongu is a black iron warrior. His skills are very powerful. I saw with my own eyes how he defeated the blockhead in a few moves. It was very clean. He has fully unleashed his strength. The most important thing is that on this island, we can't use doqi or magic. When fighting, we can only rely on martial arts and the strength and agility of our bodies. Zongu has the blood of a lion man. His strength, speed, endurance, and so on are much higher than us pure-blooded humans. With the armor on his body, he even withstood the blockhead's tree trunk sweep. Everyone, there's no harm in thinking about it. Such a strong person, why not stay in the military? Any military, as long as it's possible, wouldn't let go of such an elite. As long as he serves in the military, his future is very bright. Unless he committed a major crime and let the military know that he's a cunning and evil person, then the military will expel him. Heiwan's analysis was quite reasonable. Mu Ban, Fat Tongue, and the others nodded slightly when they heard it. In fact, those who boarded the Pig's Kiss at this time of the year and risked their lives to go to the wilderness continent were not ordinary people. Most of them were people who couldn't survive in the Shengming continent, or people who didn't have good lives. They didn't care about the danger to their lives because they wanted to obtain opportunities and benefits from the war. They were adventurers, but they could also be criminals. For example, Baiyan needed to become a knight. For example, Sang Su was a wanted criminal. Even if he was Jin Jun, he still shouldered the mission of reviving the family. Jin Jin rubbed the hilt of his sword and fell into deep thought. From Mu Ban and Heiwan's narration, as well as Fat Tongue's panicked expression, he could see how powerful Zhonggu was. Zhonggu was a hybrid between a beastman and a human. His identity as a half-beastman was not popular in human society. To be more precise, he was discriminated against. However, on the island, his identity as a half-beastman made Zhongji's battle prowess stand out. If I don't mutate, I'm afraid I can't defeat Zhonggu. Only by mutating can I have a chance of winning. But I can't let others see the mutation. Once I use the magic core in my heart, I have to guarantee that Zhonggu will die. Zhen Jin felt a sense of pressure. He couldn't use battle chi. Praying to the gods didn't get any response, and he couldn't get any divine blessings. He could only rely on his own physical strength. He didn't even know what his cultivation level was. Although his physical fitness was far beyond the standard of an ordinary person, his strength and speed were just so. If it wasn't for the magic core, if it wasn't for some luck, and if it wasn't for Zhen Jin's tenacious perseverance, Zhen Jin would have died long ago. So, my opponent this time isn't a magical beast, but a human? Chapter 91. Most of the time, humans were more frightening than magical beasts. Beastmen were also highly intelligent beings, and they knew how to use strategies. Another thing that worried Jin Jin was that Zhonggu had excellent equipment. He had a high-quality steel armor and a pair of spears. He had never used his spears in public, probably because Zhonggu was not in danger, so it was not worth it to use them. Zhen Jin's intuition told him that Zhongji's spears were not ordinary, and they were of a higher grade than his steel armor. In comparison, Zhen Jin only had a thin sword in his hand, and it was Heiwan's. No matter what, we must first search for Shi Suo and the others, and bring them back safely. Zhen Jin sorted out his thoughts and immediately made a decision. Shi Suo was the third mate, and the fourth shipwright was proficient in the process of shipbuilding. These were all key talents. In order to leave this island, they were very important. Lan Zhao, Heiwan, you two come with me. Zhen Jin looked around and pointed at two people. Although he wanted to act alone, considering the possibility of searching for Shi Suo and the others in the forest, Zhen Jin still needed manpower. If he were to search alone, the efficiency would be too low. Whether it was Lan Zhao or Heiwan, they both had the strength of a bronze rank. Catch! Zhen Jin raised his hand and threw the thin sword to Heiwan. He was a temple knight, and he definitely would not covet other people's equipment. The sword is not bad. Zhen Jin also praised Heiwan. Heiwan took the sword and was about to speak. Sir, ZD suddenly opened her mouth and said worriedly, if Zhonggu is the culprit behind the horde of beasts, then he was disturbed by Lord Zhen Jin and chose to temporarily give up on attacking the camp. But since he already knows of Milord's bravery and valiance, wouldn't Milord also be under his observation when you head to the forest? Could this be a ploy to Zhongji's division of forces to lure us in? That's possible. Zhen Jin frowned. So what do you think? ZD said, I want to go with you, sir. I will do my best to help you. At the same time, I have medicine to protect myself. I will try my best not to be a burden to you. Zhen Jin hesitated. ZD turned around and said to Heiwan, Heiwan, I know that your sword is not ordinary. Please give it to the Lord Zhen Jin to use for the time being. Heiwan was stunned, and his expression changed slightly. This sword is my family heirloom. Heiwan expressed his refusal. He was only a mercenary hired by ZD. He was not ZD's subordinate. nor was he Zhang Jin's retainer. Zhang Jin smiled faintly. ZD, there is no need to make things difficult for him. Zhang Jin could mutate a silver spear scorpion. The spear scorpion's tail should be able to pose a threat to steel. Sir, you can't do that. ZD was very insistent. We just analyzed it. Zhongge is a very strong opponent. He also has a set of high-quality steel armor. His spear must be extraordinary as well. Sir, if you use a normal weapon to fight Zhongge, it would be no different from being unarmed. But if you fail, sir, the fate of all of us will be very worrying. Sir, if you don't want to think about yourself, please think about us. Zhang Jin was stunned. He immediately laughed bitterly. He understood that ZD's words were said with good intentions. Bullying, Zhang Jin was a knight who pitted the weak and protected his comrades. But at the same time, Zhang Jin had to admit that ZD's words were reasonable. He had confidence in his own mutated strength. But if they were to fight in public, he could not recklessly use his heart nucleus. Especially now that there were many people around, it was not like a five-man team. Zhang Jin could not afford to be careless. Sir, just then, Heiwan took the initiative to hold the thin sword in his hands. He walked forward and cupped his hands. This lowly one is ignorant and narrow-minded. This sword can only display its true value in Sir's hands. This is my family heirloom. The name of the sword is Silver Lightning. It will definitely be able to release its radiance in Sir's hands. ZD smiled. Heiwan, for this employment, I will pay you double. Heiwan's face immediately revealed a smile. All right, I will treat this sword well. I will do my best to return it to you in one piece. Zhang Jin saw Heiwan's attitude and generously took the sword back. He abided by the creed of the Knights Templar, but he was not pedantic. Since he could secretly use his heart nucleus many times for himself and for others, borrowing a thin sword was naturally not a problem. He had already used it and carefully observed it before. The thin sword was indeed a good sword. Heiwan said that it was a family heirloom, and it was not an exaggeration. To almost all warriors and knights, armors and weapons were very expensive and could be passed down as legacies. Because of the expensive equipment, many lords only provided food and fodder when they recruited knights to fight. They did not provide weapons and horses because they would not be able to afford it financially. Of course, weapons and equipment also had grades. There were many factors to evaluate whether a weapon or equipment was good or bad. One of the most important factors was the conductivity of the Do Qi. Zhang Jin did not know how well the Silver Lightning thin sword could conduct Do Qi, but just by looking at its hardness, sharpness, and flexibility, it was already outstanding. After a short discussion, Zhang Jin set out with ZD, Heiwan, and Lan Zhao. He couldn't possibly bring everyone with him. Many of his heavily injured companions had to stay in the camp to recuperate. Song Su, Mu Ban, Fat Tongue, and the others stayed behind. They really did not have much fighting power. If they were to go to the battlefield, they would be a burden to Zhang Jin. Mu Ban strongly wanted to participate, but he was rejected by Zhang Jin. Zhang Jin also took his repeating crossbow. If it was left in Mu Ban's hands, his companions would be in more danger. If this was Zhong Ji's plan to divide the troops, then once the camp was attacked, Mu Ban would fire a signal flare. At that time, Zhang Jin would quickly return to reinforce them. There was no other way. Zhang Jin could not give up on rescuing Shipwright and the others because of a conspiracy. As for the signal flare gun, not only did the camp have it, Shisua also carried one with him. Shisua and the others were at the logging site southeast of the camp, on a hillside 2 kilometers away from the camp. Zhang Jin and the others had just walked halfway when they heard a gunshot from the hillside. A pink signal flare rose into the air. This is a distress signal. They are really in danger. Let's go. ZD whispered. Not necessarily. We still need to be careful. Maybe the enemy deliberately released this bait to lure us to move faster and lower our guard against the surrounding environment. Heiwan said, you guys maintain your current pace. I'll go take a look at the situation first. Zhang Jin ordered and immediately sped up. Although Heiwan's words made sense, It was related to the old shipwright's life. Without him, the others in the camp would not be able to make a large ship that could cross the ocean. This could be a trap set by Zhonggu, but it could also be something else. The faster Zhenjin acted, the higher the chance of saving Shipwright's life. The young knight's pace became faster and faster, and he began to run in the forest. His heart core activated, and his right eye quietly transformed, forming a thermal vision. This way, even if Zhonggu and the others were to ambush him, Zhenjin would be able to discover them in time. Very quickly, Zhenjin heard the unique sharp cries of the bat monkeys. He sped up again, almost running madly in the forest, and finally saw the hillside. The hillside was not steep, and there were many people surrounded by the bat monkeys. This group of bat monkeys was clearly not the group that attacked the camp before. There were 7 bronze bat monkeys and 1 black steel bat monkey. The crew members that were constantly being attacked by the bat monkeys were all injured and were in a precarious situation. Zhenjin did not stop, rushing towards the hillside while pulling the trigger of his crossbow. Short arrows flew out with incomparable accuracy. Ordinary bat monkeys were shot one by one, like penguins lining up to fall into the sea, falling to the ground one after another, and the sound of the arrows did not stop. Someone came to save us. Everyone cheered. The bat monkeys were enraged, and a few bronze bat monkeys pounced at Zhenjin. Zhenjin put away his crossbow, and with a clang, he pulled out his thin sword, Silver Lightning. The distance between him and the bronze bat monkeys quickly shortened. In that instant, Zhenjin suddenly threw out a few resplendent silver lights from the thin sword. Following that, he passed by these bat monkeys. The bronze bat monkeys seemed to pause in the air, and then they all fell to the ground, their life aura quickly dissipating. Zhenjin's battle strength had momentarily stunned the crew members on the hillside. The only black steel bat monkey was enraged. It flapped its wings, puffed up its chest, and suddenly screeched. The screeching sound caused ripples in the air, expanding in circles and quickly enveloping Zhenjin. Zhenjin had already seen this kind of special sound wave attack, the mutated bare arm, and instantly threw out a dart. The dart hit the black steel bat monkey and pierced through its left wing. The black steel bat monkey was frightened, and with the few remaining bat monkeys, they ran away in all directions. Zhenjin did not chase after them and rushed to the hillside, where he saw the leader of the crew. The leader was a young man with a tall and thin figure. "You are Shi Suo?" Zhenjin asked seriously. The young man quickly nodded. "May I know who Sir is?" "We're a shipwright, Lao Si." Zhenjin looked around and immediately asked. Shi Suo quickly pointed in a direction. "We were attacked by the bat monkeys." Blockhead was very angry and rushed out. Old Shipwright was worried about Blockhead's safety, so he brought a few people and rushed over. Zhenjin gritted his teeth and rushed in the direction Shi Suo pointed in. The traces along the way were very obvious. Zhenjin quickly found his target on another hillside. A 3-meter-tall giant was crazily waving a wooden club in his hand. This giant had a young face, his upper body was exposed, and his lower body was covered with a yellow leather skirt with black spots, and he wore a pair of large straw sandals. His hair was disheveled, and he constantly shouted, spittle flying everywhere. "Die, even flies want to die. This big guy will smash you all." The giant continuously shouted. The wooden club was heavy and could easily smash boulders and trees, and when it fell on the ground, it would create a small hole, and mud would splatter everywhere. A few people surrounded the little giant and shouted, trying to calm him down. But the giant was completely enraged by the bat monkeys and did not listen to them. Old Shipwright is over there. Zhenjin's pupils slightly dilated and saw an old man lying at the giant's feet between his legs. This old man's clothing and appearance was very similar to Mu Ban's description, but his eyes were closed, and it was unknown whether he was unconscious or dead. Chapter 92. The new book, Infinite Blood Core, is about to hit the shelves. It has been about 6 years since the last book, Gu Immortal, was published. Time is like a carving knife, carving everyone's face and soul. 6 years ago, I wrote Goo Immortal, I was still single. Now, 6 years later, I have a family and my son is in kindergarten. The experience of writing Goo Immortal gave me a lot of rich writing experience and a lot of great inspiration. In the past 6 years, I read a lot of books. I found a lot of excellent books. Thanks to my peers, there are a lot of good books that have emerged in the past 6 years. They're my spiritual food. Not only do I read web novels, I also read traditional classics. I read The Moon and Sixpence and couldn't sleep at night. I read The Little Prince, and I read Red and Black again and again. I also read professional books on writing, such as What is Writing, Story Mechanics, Movie Screenwriter's Guide, and so on. I finally had a systematic and personal standard to judge a novel's quality. I call it the triple standard, covering both web novels and traditional literature. I began to have a new understanding of the beauty of a novel. 6 years ago, when I wrote Goo Immortal, I regarded the 3 golden chapters, rapid updates, conflicts, and so on as the golden rule. Now, 6 years later, I feel that an author should have more space to write. Goo Immortal, being banned, was a major ordeal for me, because when I write books, no matter what the results are, I have never stopped writing. I try my best to finish every book because I love writing itself. I love every book as my child. I don't want to see any child die in the middle. Among all the books, Goo Immortal has a special meaning to me because it is my old dream. It was still banned and forced to be unfinished. This made me feel very painful. When this happened, I felt like I was isolated from the world, like a person in endless darkness, like falling off a cliff in a strong wind. I kept falling. I had no one to rely on. During this time, I went through the greatest ordeal of my writing career. This experience forced me to interrogate my heart. It allowed me to look at my relationship with my readers, with my writing platform, and with my country and society from a new perspective. I began to face up to my own influence and began to think about how I should shoulder my family responsibilities and social responsibilities. I also began to think about the relationship between online literature and traditional literature. I even thought about how, as an insignificant online author, I could contribute to the cultural revival of my motherland. Over the past 6 years, I've gradually come to the conclusion that a literary work, including web novels, should not only contain commercial value, but also literary value. It was just like a good movie might not necessarily be a blockbuster, and a blockbuster might not necessarily be a good movie. Compared to the explosive data during the update, I wanted to create a book that could withstand the erosion of time. With such thoughts in mind, I decided to create Infinite Bloodcore. To be honest, this was a difficult challenge. I tried to take the essence of excellent movies or stage plays and integrate it into the creation of a web novel to form a more exquisite, tighter combination, and echoing the overall layout of the novel. I tried to absorb the advantages of traditional literature and integrate them into my online writing. For example, digging into human nature and thinking about the world. I tried to add delicate descriptions into the article about the description of the scenery and the detailed changes in people's hearts. I try to focus on the theme and integrate the setting, plot, and characters to give Infinite Bloodcore soul. This was my first attempt. Because I was nervous and knew that I was weak, I made a lot of preparations. For the outline of Infinite Bloodcore, I thought about it for more than 2 months. As for the details, I had already urgently adjusted the details of the first volume 5 or 6 times this month. Apart from that, I read a lot of biological information. For example, Natural History, World Animal Encyclopedia, Illustrated Wildlife, Animal Life Encyclopedia, Animal Dynasty, and other excellent documentaries, as well as Illustrated Handbook of Supernatural Animal Transformations, the Ultimate Illustrated Handbook of Pokemon, World of Warcraft, Dungeons and Dragons, Monster Hunter, and so on. It involved real life, virtual life, and classic excellent results. I believe that everyone has already felt the results in this area in the updated article. In order to write a good survival story, I watched Bear Grylls survival documentaries and learned about the virtue of starvation. I also rewatched Robinson Crusoe. Because the novel setting involved ancient Europe, I read Medieval History of Europe, The Age of Knights, Medieval Europe, and medieval life history. Among them, I focused on noble symbol of heraldry, castle building, middle world clothing, reference atlas of foreign architecture, medieval castle, middle world travel, medieval knight legends, and so on. This week, I started to study ships, especially European sailing ships. History of sailing ships, world sailing ship development, shipbuilding fundamentals, simple shipbuilding techniques. I read them all. I try to write more detailed web novels. I filled in a lot of details. Even if it was a fantasy novel, it would have realistic theories to fill it in, making it more realistic. Speaking of which, I also hesitated. My past writing experience told me that the first choice for starting a new book was to write about a protagonist like Feng Yuan. I could write about a fantasy wizard genre, which was very close to Xinxia novels. Or I could write about farming. I had a lot of farming descriptions in True Master Gu. This way, I wouldn't be tired and would meet the expectations of my readers. At the same time, it was something I was good at, so I didn't have to worry about not being able to eat. My second choice was to try a new creation. I knew the risk was huge. Compared to using a new power system, it was much riskier to start a new genre. Because this time, I used a different writing logic. I didn't know what the outcome of this choice would be. I couldn't estimate it at all. But I knew that there would be a conversion rate among my readers. Some of them would feel that I had changed and wouldn't be good. The data might also be terrible. But in the end, I still chose the second choice. Because I was worried that if I chose the first choice, I wouldn't be able to walk out of my comfort zone. And in the end, what pushed me to choose the second choice was a realization. I wasn't young anymore. My friends, I have been writing for many years. In the past, I often pulled all-nighters, so it wasn't a problem. But now, if I pull all-nighters, I can't stand it the next day. If I sit for more than half an hour, I will feel sore all over. I also have rhinitis. Every time the season changes, it's very torturous. When I play games now, I can't react in time. When I fight gunfights, my hands aren't steady. I used to be able to reach gold in Overwatch, but now it's bronze. When I was in university, I used to play Dota, and now I occasionally play Heroes of the Storm to reminisce about my youth. Hearthstone, the first version of Plants vs. Zombies, and other games are becoming more and more suitable for me. I watch my ancestors pass away one after another, watch my parents age rapidly, and watch my son grow up rapidly. I feel that time is like the wind, and the sound of the wind is getting louder and louder in my ears. It's also like sand in my hand. I desperately clench it, but it flows faster and faster. Every time I can't sleep late at night, I feel a fire burning my increasingly fat belly, burning my thin bones until they crackle like dry wood. This fire makes me hungry. This fire makes me panic and impatient. I know that this fire is my literary dream. If I compromise this time, because of the fear of the unknown, I seek the so-called stability and choose the first choice. After that, how many years will I have left? My youth has left me, and I don't have a lot of time to squander. I'm not young anymore, my friends, and the dream of literature in the past is burning fiercely. I really feel that there's a desire to create something that meets the standards of my heart, and it's strongly pushing me. This time, I've decided to take a risk. I've left my youth to True Master of Gu, and I've placed my literary pursuit on infinite blood core. In fact, many people have advised me to be steady and consolidate my divinity. If I take big steps, it's easy to sprain my ankle and pull my balls. Thank you for your concern. I smiled bitterly. 6 years ago, I looked at gods, I looked at platinum, I was very envious, I looked up to them. Today, 6 years later, especially after the True Master of Gu incident, I've become indifferent. Of course, I'm also vulgar. I'm also human, I also need to eat. Divinity, I also want it. But I understand, it's not my pursuit, and it shouldn't be my shackles. It's good if I have divinity, but it's fine if I don't. I'm willing to just be a small author, to pursue the literary dream that has always been there, and gradually expanding. There's money in this dream, there's vulgarity, but it's more about literature. Just like the intention of the moon and sixpence, I pick up a coin on the ground, then get up, raise my head, and reach out. This time, I think it's enough for the moon. These are the words from the bottom of my heart. Therefore, infinite blood core, is a major challenge for me. It challenges my determination, my writing style, my structure, and the first test of my new writing concept and practice. In the past few months, and even until now, I've been doing my best for this. Similarly, I have to be honest, I have to tell everyone, just like what I said in the previous preface, this is also a challenge for you. Because this time, I've adopted my creative concept, and the logical layer of writing has changed. So Infinite Blood Core doesn't have the 3 golden chapters, and it doesn't have the rhythm unique to web novels. But you'll see a more refined and unified overall structure of the novel. You'll see a lot of foreshadowing and echoes, and you'll see a lot of unexpected but reasonable plot twists when you think about it carefully. Because the entire structure uses the creative means of movies and stage plays, Infinite Blood Core is no longer a linear assembly line structure. It won't be like the protagonist leveling up again and again, and the instances will be one after another. It's more like a script, and each volume is a stage. For example, the stage of the first volume is an island. So a book friend asked, "Why haven't you left the island yet? Haven't you left the novice village yet?" Sorry, the concept of a novice village itself came from the game, and then it was used in web novels. It doesn't exist in this book. The entire first volume is on this island. Because of the pursuit of literary value, I'll use a lot of delicate writing methods. If I don't write about the scenery and environment, there's no style. If I don't write about the psychology of the characters, there's no way to explore human nature. And when I actively explore human nature, there's another problem. It's easy to be reported. So this book also has risks. In this regard, I believe that everyone has already felt it. The tragic fate of the 2 brothers, Lan Zhao and Huang Zhao, is my exploration of human nature and interrogation of the meaning of life. One of the characteristics of the protagonist, Jin, is different from most web novel protagonists. He has a lot of psychological activity. He's constantly thinking about himself and the process of interrogating his soul. It's also my exploration of human nature and the development of literary value. Because of all these factors, the definition of climax in Infinite Blood Core is different from most web novels. Venting of grievances, being looked down upon, and stepping on people are the usual climax in Infinite Blood Core. But its real climax is the exploration of human nature and the exploration of how people get along with each other. Therefore, the first climax of the book was around section 66 to 70. I have to admit that Infinite Blood Core is a big challenge for me as the author. It's also a challenge for readers familiar with web novels. I implore you to be a bit more patient, a bit more tolerant, a bit more understanding, and lower your expectations when reading. Friendly reminder, it's easier to discover the unique flavor of Infinite Blood Core after reading the entire first volume. Of course, the chapters are more complete now. After reading around section 70, you'll be able to touch the soul of Infinite Blood Core. If you read this and think that I wrote it well, or if you're looking forward to seeing a different web novel, please support me. Infinite Blood Core is currently available on Chidian. The book will officially hit the shelves on Friday, 5/15. Every legal copy is a firm support and encouragement for me. I really need your support, because I know that there aren't many readers who can accept the challenge, and even fewer who can succeed. Their taste is a bit higher, but it's only a small group of people. I really want to be able to write it this time. I want to succeed in my own creative challenge. If Infinite Blood Core succeeds, it'll be of great significance. It allowed me to see a new path. I could use better creative methods to create more in-depth, more brain-burning, and more exciting novels. Moreover, there was a certain market for this novel, which allowed me to eat porridge and survive. It might even let other authors see this path and create more exciting novels with both commercial and literary value. That would be great. Ever since I started this book, I've rarely asked for votes. This time, I want to ask everyone, if you approve of this novel, please support me and vote for it. Right now, what I need the most is the first subscription of this book. On Friday, the first VIP chapter will be released at noon. It only costs a few cents, but this data is very important for this book. After all, in this day and age, even good wine fears deep alleys. I know a lot of people are raising this book. Now that this book is getting better, it can be read. Of course, it's fine to continue raising it. It'll be more refreshing to read it after stocking up enough. But I hope that readers won't forget to vote and subscribe when you're raising this book. If you want to support me, please support me. If you want to love, please love deeply. Good Taoist Master thanks you here. 2025. 15. Chapter 93. The shipwright was in a critical situation. The bat monkeys were extremely nimble. Their four limbs were powerful and they could jump quickly. They could also use their wings to make various movements in the air. Although the blockhead was strong, he had not cultivated any martial arts and could only rely on his own strength to fight. He could not protect the old shipwright. In fact, the blockhead himself was also a threat. Zhenjin was worried that when the little giant moved, it would step on the old shipwright and flatten him on the spot. Roar! Scram! Annoying flies scram. The blockhead waved the wooden club in his hand, but he could not hit the bat monkeys. The injuries on his body increased, and he began to lose his mind. A bat monkey suddenly pounced on the old shipwright. The blockhead did not react. But at this moment, an arrow whizzed in and killed the bat monkey on the spot. The blockhead was slow to react and was stunned when he saw the bat monkey that had been shot. At this moment, a bat monkey took the opportunity to pounce on the blockhead's head. It stretched out its claws and wanted to gouge out the blockhead's eyes. At the same time, another two bat monkeys pounced on the old shipwright from the left and right. If the blockhead wanted to protect his eyes, then he could not protect the old shipwright. If he wanted to protect the old shipwright, he would have to go blind. At this critical moment, the blockhead did not hesitate. He grabbed the bat monkey on the left with one hand and waved the wooden club with the other, trying to send the bat monkey on the right flying. He would rather sacrifice his eyes to protect the old shipwright. The bat monkey on the left screamed and flapped its wings, retreating backwards and dodging the blockhead's attack. The bat monkey on the right suddenly lowered its body and lay on the ground, avoiding the wooden club. The bat monkey on top of the blockhead's head had already stabbed its claws into the blockhead's eyes. So. The next moment, 3 arrows fell from the sky and killed the 3 bat monkeys on the spot. The blockhead was stunned again and subconsciously looked in the direction the arrows came from. He saw a young knight with golden hair and blue eyes. He held a bow in one hand and a thin sword in the other as he charged forward. Zhenjin tried his best to get close to the blockhead. With his long-range firepower, the blockhead and the shipwright were able to save their lives. However, at this moment, a loud scream came from the forest. Whoosh! A large group of bat monkeys suddenly charged out from the forest. This group of bat monkeys was the largest that Zhenjin had ever seen. There were 3 black iron ranked bat monkeys, over 30 bronze ranked bat monkeys, and over 100 normal bat monkeys. Oh no! Zhenjin's pupils shrank as he helplessly watched the bat monkeys roll over and surround him in the middle. The bat monkeys' attacks came from all directions, from the sky to the ground. Zhenjin dodged left and right, sometimes leaping horizontally, sometimes curling up and rolling. Unexpectedly, none of the bat monkeys were able to hit him. This feeling, Zhenjin recalled his experience of single-handedly charging into a group of lizards. The current situation was very similar to that time. Although he was surrounded by enemies, he did not panic at all. He maintained his icy calm, as if he had a natural instinct that allowed him to always find the best way to dodge and avoid being caught in a predicament of being attacked from both sides. While dodging, Zhenjin was also fighting back. The crossbow bolts in the quiver were quickly used up. Over 20 normal bat monkeys had died, but Zhenjin's arrows did not miss their targets. However, there were too many bat monkeys surrounding him. Almost 80% of a new batch of bat monkeys were gathered around him. Changing the quiver for a repeating crossbow was actually relatively simple. However, Zhenjin, who was surrounded, had to constantly dodge and did not have the opportunity to change the quiver. In this situation, the thin sword that He Wan lent him, Silver Lightning, was a huge help to Zhenjin. The thin sword danced in his hand. In the flash of the silver sword, There were always severed limbs of the bat monkeys. Blood splattered everywhere, accompanied by the screams of the bat monkeys. The thin sword was indeed Hei-Wan's family heirloom. It could easily pierce through and kill the bronze bat monkeys. Hei-Wan could not pierce through it, because he did not have enough strength and could not compare to Jinjin. That's right, Jinjin had already mutated his arms into bear arms. As for whether or not he could threaten the black steel bat monkeys, it was still to be tested. The 3 black steel bat monkeys floated in the air, staring at Jinjin. They only screamed and did not join the battle. Although Jinjin had the upper hand and was constantly reaping the lives of the bat monkeys, he was also bound in place and could not rush over to save the shipwright. Without the support of Jin's arrows, the blockhead was once again in danger. Don't hurt father. The blockhead guarded the old shipwright and continuously chased the bat monkeys away. However, the bat monkeys could advance and retreat freely. Whenever there was a gap, they would pounce forward and bite off a piece of flesh from the blockhead's body. The old shipwright also suffered a few attacks. The blockhead saw that the old shipwright had new injuries and was extremely anxious. He roared and suddenly bent his back, forming a semicircle and protecting the old shipwright. The surrounding bat monkeys excitedly shouted sword dragons and swarmed forward, continuously scratching and biting the blockhead's body. The blockhead's body was quickly covered in wounds and bleeding profusely. But he clenched his teeth and lowered his head, enduring the constant attacks of pain. His 4 limbs curled up as much as possible, doing his best to protect the old shipwright. His back, his arms, and his thighs quickly became a bloody mess. Damn it! Jinjin noticed this situation and moved even faster, wanted to kill his way out. But in the next moment, the trees trembled and loud, thumping sounds could be heard. A rhinoceros charged into the battlefield. It's that silver rhinoceros again. Jinjin saw the rhinoceros charging towards him. The rhinoceros's body was thick and solid. Its entire body seemed to be made of silver. It was 2 meters tall. Its hooves were even larger than a stone mill. Every time it stomped on the ground, it would create a shallow pit. It lowered its head and charged over, its speed increasing. The rhinoceros horn on its head was thick and sharp, a terrifying weapon. Jinjin hurriedly dodged. It was very unwise to face this rhinoceros head-on. He even suspected that even if he mutated into a silver spear scorpion, he would still be crushed by the rhinoceros's charge. Fortunately, the rhinoceros's charge was straight and could not change directions at will. It was too heavy and had a strong inertia. If it wanted to change directions, it had to first reduce its speed. The bat monkeys were also intimidated by the charging rhinoceros and scattered. The route was too obvious. Jinjin easily dodged this rhinoceros. But in the next moment, the scattered bat monkeys once again surrounded Jinjin. The silver rhinoceros finally crashed into a tree. Boom, boom, boom. 3 trees were knocked down by it in succession. For a moment, the earth trembled and leaves flew into the air. Boom, boom, boom. The silver rhinoceros shook its head and adjusted its direction. It took a step forward and charged again. But this time, its target was not Jinjin, but the blockhead who was closer and more conspicuous. Oh no! Seeing the silver rhinoceros crash into the blockhead, Jin's expression changed. Blockhead, dodge! The crew on the hill shouted and hurriedly reminded him. The blockhead shook his head and shouted, "Big guy, don't dodge. Big guy, protect daddy." He buried his head and could not see the charging silver rhinoceros at all. Jinjin wanted to save him, but he was blocked by the bat monkeys. Just as the blockhead was about to be killed by the silver rhinoceros, and the old shipwright was about to be turned into meat paste by the rhinoceros, a burly figure suddenly jumped down from the treetops and blocked the silver rhinoceros's charge. Bang! In the next moment, the silver rhinoceros crashed into the burly figure and made a loud sound that made people's hearts tremble. But the burly figure was not sent flying, nor did he fall down. He still straightened his back and used the steel armor on his chest to block the silver rhinoceros's horn. His legs bulged with exaggerated muscles and pressed against the ground, firmly supporting his burly upper body. The rhinoceros's charge was too powerful. It carried the burly figure forward. Ah! The burly figure opened his mouth and roared, his voice shaking the surroundings. The rhinoceros's charge became slower and slower until it finally stopped. The burly figure retreated over 100 meters. His calves were almost stuck in the mud. The armor on his chest had been completely deformed from the impact, and there was a dent. The ribs in his chest must have been broken. The burly figure's roar also stopped along with the rhinoceros. The man and beast stared at each other. Suddenly, the burly figure spat out a mouthful of blood. Ha ha! He let out a wild laugh. In the next moment, he used his wide left hand to grab the rhinoceros's horn and raised his right fist. Bang! Bang bang! Bang bang bang! The fists were like a storm, smashing on the hard skull of the silver rhinoceros. The silver rhinoceros roared and wanted to raise its head and use its horn to send the burly figure flying, but it did not succeed. Its horn was tightly grabbed by the burly figure, and its head and eyes were constantly being hit by the violent fists. The intense pain and dizziness caused the bayou rhinoceros to enter a frenzied state. Its forehooves crazily stomped on the ground, and its thick muscles bulged, giving a strong push. But its head was still pressed firmly into the mud by the burly figure. The burly figure was over 2 meters tall. He had a full beard, and his long brown hair scattered over his shoulders. His pupils were also yellowish-brown. There was a thin layer of lion fur on his exposed skin. This time, let's see where you can escape to. Ah! The burly figure kept shouting, and his violent aura made people shudder. Under his iron fists, the silver rhinoceros became a weak existence that was being bullied. He must be Zhong-ge. Zhen Jin's eyes flashed with a serious look. This guy, is he really only at the iron level? Chapter 94. Zhong-ge blocked the silver rhino's attack and saved the lives of Blockhead and the shipwright. His fist hit the rhino's skull and made a muffled sound. In the end, the silver rhino lay on the ground and did not dare to move its body. Zhong-ge's bravery had suppressed the silver rhinoceros and shocked everyone present. Even the bat monkey's cries had quieted down. Their faces were filled with fear, and they didn't dare to surround Zhong-ge. Puff! In the next moment, Zhong-ge spat out another mouthful of blood. The blood sprayed on the silver rhino's face, and the magical beast that was just suppressed suddenly became restless. Go support Master Zhong-ge. A group of people came out from the forest, and the leader was a goblin. Go help them. Zhong-ge laughed and stared at the silver rhino, loudly rejecting the support. The silver rhino was even more restless. Its sharp beast instinct made it feel that Zhong-ge had become weak. It opened its eyes wide and observed Zhong-ge. Because its head was smashed into the ground by Zhong-ge, it could only look up, and from its angle, the sunlight was very blinding. It couldn't see Mang Ge's face clearly. It could only see Mang Ge's indomitable, pitch-black figure under the scorching sunlight. In this pitch-black figure, Mang Ge's brownish-yellow eyes emitted a cold light. When the silver rhino saw this pair of eyes, it suddenly whimpered. It felt as if it had seen the king of all beasts. Its previous thoughts of provoking Zhong-ge disappeared under Zhong-ge's calm gaze. The silver rhino's body trembled and moved its 4 limbs, continuously retreating. After retreating more than 10 steps, it turned around and fled in panic. Zhong-ge quietly watched it escape and did not pursue. At this moment, there were still many bat monkeys wreaking havoc on the battlefield, but the human side had also received reinforcements. After that, the warriors who rushed out from the forest were all very skilled. It was worth noting that this group of people were not pure-blooded humans. There were many half-elves, half-beastmen, goblins, dwarves, and so on. They were of different heights and had different equipment. At a glance, they looked like a mob. However, from their life force, there were a few bronze-ranked elites among them. The leader of the goblins emitted a black, iron-ranked aura. This goblin wore leather armor and had dark green skin. He had long ears and no hair. He wore a white gauze scarf, and his neck could not be seen. Even his mouth was covered by the white scarf. The goblin's long nose protruded forward. This goblin's movements were very fast. Running close to the ground, a bat monkey pounced at him, and he immediately rolled forward. As he rolled, he reached his hand into his calf. A dagger was tied to the outside of his calf. He pulled out his dagger and, with a light wave, slit the bat monkey's throat. He then turned around and swung his dagger. The sharp light of the dagger drew a semicircle arc. With just a slight contact with this arc, another bat monkey that pounced over lost its life on the spot. He sometimes rolled on the ground and sometimes spun like a top. With just a small dagger, he killed the bat monkeys without any ability to resist. He was very experienced in using the dagger. His fighting style was ruthless and sinister. The dagger was also not an ordinary item. It could easily take the lives of the bronze-ranked bat monkeys. For a moment, the goblin moved freely among the bat monkeys. He easily broke through their blockade and encirclement. Needlework keenly noticed that the goblin had 2 knives on him. A curved knife hung from his waist, and a single-edged straight knife on his back. But the goblin did not use these 2 knives. He only used a small dagger to defeat the bat monkeys. On the other side, Zongu, who had scared away the silver rhinoceros, began to move forward slowly. "Bad guy, come any closer, and the big guy will smash you flat." The blockhead warned the approaching Zongu loudly. The number of bat monkeys around him had decreased by a lot. Because Zongu and the goblin had joined in, they had attracted the attacks of the bat monkeys. The shipwright was still unconscious. The blockhead was covered in wounds. The parts of his body that had been attacked by the bat monkeys were not intact. Blood kept flowing out and dyed the ground under the blockhead red. The blockhead knelt down and picked up the wooden club. Just as he was about to stand up, his body swayed, and he felt a strong dizziness. He was heavily injured and had lost a lot of blood. Mangu snorted coldly and looked at the blockhead expressionlessly. His brown lion eyes flickered with a faint light. "I'm here to save you. If you attack me, I'll kill your father. Obediently surrender, and you and your father can live." The blockhead was stunned and then became angry. He used the wooden club to hit the ground. "The big guy does not trust you. You're a bad guy. My father told me that bad guys lie." Zongu froze for a moment, his gaze turning even deeper. The blockhead's attitude was not out of his expectations. He immediately gave up on persuading him and secretly prepared to attack. With his martial skills, it would not be a problem to knock out the blockhead in a few breaths. Although the blockhead had a black iron life rating, he had never trained in martial skills. The difference between him and Zongu was too big. However, just as Zongu was about to approach, an arrow suddenly flew over and stabbed into the Zongji's right side. This was a naked warning. "Zongu, stop." Jinjin finally arrived. Because the humans had increased in numbers, the pressure on Jinjin had decreased. This decrease in numbers had reached a qualitative change. It could be seen from the fact that the black iron level goblin leader could dominate the battlefield. Holding the thin sword Silver Lightning in his hand, Jin Jun gets away more easily. Zongu stopped and looked back. Seeing that it was Jun Jin, Zongji's gaze became deeper. In his mind, he naturally remembered the scene when he jumped from the treetop and rushed over to support Jinjin. Jinjin was surrounded by the bat monkeys, but he held a sharp sword and killed in all directions. The bat monkeys' attacks were endless, but Jinjin handled them with ease and was not injured at all. Their gazes met, and Jinjin immediately felt an almost tangible pressure. Zongu was more than 2 meters tall, and Jinjin was only a 16-year-old young knight. In addition to Zongji's fierce performance just now, Jinjin was immediately suppressed when facing him. "Who are you?" Zongu sized up Jinjin and asked in a low voice. Jinjin was about to speak, but Lan Zeo's angry voice came from not far away. "How dare you? Coarse and lowly beastman. Are you not going to salute? Standing in front of you is my master Jinjin, a noble temple knight, the only successor of the 100 Needles clan, and the future lord of White Sand City." Jinjin looked back and saw ZD, Lan Zeo, Heiwan, and the others. They had finally arrived. Humph, a pretty boy nobleman. Zonga looked at Zhen Jin with disdain. His gaze stopped at the thin sword in the scabbard at Zhen Jin's waist, and he commented indifferently, "But your sword is not bad." Zhen Jin smiled and stared at Zong Ji's broken steel armor. "Your armor is also not bad." As if they saw a new batch of human reinforcements, the three black steel bat monkeys knew that the situation was bad. They screamed in unison and quickly fled the battlefield with the rest of the bat monkeys. Their movements were fast, and more importantly, they could fly. Everyone gave up on chasing them. Without the attacks of the horde, the atmosphere became even more tense. Leader Sandao, ZD looked at the goblin with surprise and joy. No one knew the goblin's name, but Sandao's nickname had been circulating in the mercenary world for a long time. Sandao's sword skills were outstanding, but he was known for his honesty and trustworthiness. It was hard to imagine that a goblin could be so honest and trustworthy, but Sandao really was. He followed and fulfilled every word he said, and he did it better than most humans. This was an anomaly in both the goblin community and the mercenary world. President ZD. Sandao saluted ZD, but his face was expressionless and his attitude was cold. ZD's eyes lit up. "Leader Sandao, it's great to see you here." Sandao's mercenary group was one of the two mercenary groups that she had hired. Sandao shook his head slightly. "President ZD, I'm sorry, but my mercenary group has been disbanded." ZD was stunned. "What?" Sandao continued. "I was saved by Master Zonga. In order to repay him for saving my life, I will follow him from now on." "Saving your life?" ZD exhaled and forced a smile. "You do need to repay him." "I understand Leader Sandao's way of doing things, but we have signed an employment agreement." "Does Leader Sandao want to break the agreement?" Sandao immediately said, "This is what I wanted to explain to you, President ZD. The old president's financial support helped the mercenary group overcome a huge obstacle. I promise to help the old president with all my strength, even if I have to use my life to repay this kindness. So this time, I accepted your employment despite the risks. However, the shipwreck almost wiped out my mercenary group, and I only survived because of Master Zongji's help. It can be said that my life has been repaid to your Chamber of Commerce. We are even now." ZD was speechless. She knew that Sandao was a goblin with a strong will. If she continued to persuade him, she would definitely fail. Thus, ZD looked at the people around Sandao. "What about you?" The motley crew looked at each other. Then someone shouted, "If we didn't accept your employment, we wouldn't have lost so many people." "Forget it. It's not President ZD's fault that the shipwreck happened. Our mercenary group has been disbanded. But since Master Sandao is following Master Zonga, we also choose to stay together." Sandao was a charismatic leader. Even if the mercenary group was disbanded, the remaining people were still willing to follow him. ZD didn't try to persuade the Sandao mercenaries. She thought for a moment and looked at Zonga. "Zonga, you are a brave warrior. And the one standing in front of you is a noble of the Empire with noble blood flowing in his veins. Not only that, he also has outstanding virtues and is a genuine holy knight. He will also be the future White Sand City Lord. Are you willing to sacrifice your bravery to the Lord Jinjin and receive glory and wealth?" P.S. Fixed all the typos in sections 1 to 90. Section 67 has been unbanned, and 4 bugs have been fixed. 1. Companions in volcanic caves eat meat. 2 Needles faced the fat ball flying fish and took off his clothes to transform. 3. The Miansha clan has been changed to the Sandtower clan. 4. Lan Zhao and Huang Zhao are both bronze rank, not iron rank. Today's first subscription event. Subscribe to this chapter within 24 hours. First subscription data. First subscription data, 5,000 plus 1 chapter. First subscription data, 8,000 plus 2 chapters. Guaranteed 2 chapters. Chapter 95. ZD had a good plan. Since she had hit a wall with Sandao and the former mercenaries, she might as well recruit the leader directly. As long as Zongu agreed, Even Sandow, and these people would be used by Jinjin. The best part was that ZD did not have to pay them. The murder of crows did not speak, only using their eyes to communicate. Although it was their first time seeing Jinjin, just by looking at Zhang Jin's golden hair, handsome face, and tall figure, they knew that his identity was not simple. To be honest, ZD's words moved them. The life of a mercenary group was tough. They had to earn some living expenses through fighting and maintaining their weapons and equipment to survive. Even if they had some extra money, they would often squander it on taverns, gambling, men and women. The competition between mercenary groups was also very fierce. Most of the mercenaries died in a foreign land, and the few who lived to live in seclusion dragged their crippled bodies and lived in poverty in their old age. If they followed a noble, they would be able to get rid of their mercenary status and become a regular soldier. No, even if they were auxiliary soldiers or guards of the city gates, it would be more stable than being a mercenary. Usually, they would not have such an opportunity. However, now that they were on an island, an opportunity presented itself to them by chance. If they grabbed it, they might not only be protected, but they might even be able to stand out and rise to the next level. Sandow looked deeply at ZD, thinking that the girl in front of him was indeed the president of a large chamber of commerce. He really could not underestimate her because of her age. Sandow looked at the murder of crows beside him. Although he was the one who disbanded the mercenary group, as the former leader, he still had the habit of thinking for the group members. So, although Sandow was not interested in ZD's recruitment, he did not immediately reject it. He knew that if he rejected them, these ex-mercenaries would follow his decision. Moreover, Sandow had only followed Zhongge for a short time, so he did not understand Zhongji's thoughts. So Sandow looked at Zhongge and said in a deep voice, "Sir Zhongge, no matter what decision you make, I will follow you." Zhongge sneered. 100 Needles clan? What's there to show off about a defeated noble from the south? Temple Knight? Can you beat me? In the position of White Sand City's lord, you need to run, right? As far as I know, you should have arrived at White Sand City by now. Because of this shipwreck, you have already delayed the opportunity. What do you have that makes you think that you can definitely get this position? Mangu was unruly and did not put Jinjin in his eyes. What surprised Ed even more was that Mangu seemed to understand the situation of the upper echelons very well. Knowing that you need to run for the position of City Lord is not strange. But even knowing the delay, ZD immediately realized Zhongji's identity is not simple. Zhongge directly rejected the recruitment. Sandow and the former mercenaries beside him naturally acted in unison. With Sir Zhongji's strength, there will be people trying to recruit him wherever he goes. We're going to fight against the Beastmen. We don't have to worry about not having a place to use our strength. Humph, a trifling half-beastman. He really doesn't know what's good for him. Lan Zhao was very angry. Shisu also did not approve of Zhang Jin's recruitment of Zhongge. He came to Zhang Jin's side and pointed at Zhongge. Lord Zhang Jin, he is the one who chased us all the way. This kind of person is extremely vicious. Leaving this kind of disaster alive is a threat to all of us. Sandow sneered. Chased? If it wasn't for us, your blockhead and the old shipwright would have died a long time ago. Shisuo snorted coldly. He looked deeply at the place where Zhonggu spat out blood. Then he said to Zhang Jin, Lord Zhang Jin, this lowly half-beastman is seriously injured. This is the best time to get rid of him. What did you say? Damn this guy. The former mercenaries were furious. They put their hands on the hilts of their swords and sabers. The atmosphere became even more tense. The battle seemed to be on the verge of breaking out. What? You want to kill him now that you can't recruit him? Is this how a holy knight acts? Zhongge said lightly, staring at Zhang Jin. He was indeed injured, and he knew that Zhang Jin was the one who controlled the situation. Zhang Jin shook his head slightly. Goblin Sandow is right. It was indeed Zhongge who saved the old shipwright and the blockhead. This is indeed the truth. I feel very sorry for rejecting my recruitment, but this does not make me think that this is an offense to my dignity. I'm a holy knight. Tolerance and benevolence are one of my creeds. If I take my anger out on someone who just rejected my recruitment, then I am not worthy of being a follower of the Shengming Emperor. My lord, Lan Zhao, stood behind Jinjin, slightly absent-minded. Zhen Jin's words appeased him and eased the situation. But just as Sandao and the others let out a sigh of relief, Zhen Jin said, "However, if you kill your companions, or if you mercilessly chase and coerce innocent people, then it is a different matter." As he spoke, Zhen Jin's gaze was like a sharp sword, piercing towards Zhongge. Zhongge frowned. Chase and kill. Someone beside Sandao laughed in anger, and he loudly retorted, "We did not chase and kill anyone. We only chased and wanted to get the shipwright back. Instead, it was you group of despicable people who wanted to kill us." These words resonated strongly with the others. They all reprimanded and growled. "You took away the shipwright, and none of us left know how to build ships. What chance do we have to survive? You have planned this for a long time, plotting against our Lord Zhongge. Has Lord Zhongge ever let you down? For you, he overthrew the shameless first mate, and even became the leader. He fought on the front lines, leading the troops. The camp was mysteriously attacked, and in order to protect you, he guarded the camp day and night, almost without sleep. How did you treat Lord Zhongge? You do not have the slightest respect for Lord Zhongge. All you say is that he is a demi-beast man, a demi-beast man. But in reality, it was the demi-beast man who saved you. You pure-blooded humans do not have the slightest bit of gratitude, and instead bite the hand that feeds you. That's right, this is a naked betrayal. Jinjin also frowned. Is this true? Other than the shipwright, no one else knows how to build ships? He looked at Shisuo. Shisuo avoided his gaze and stammered, not replying. I'm afraid so, master. As a sailor, Lan Zhao had some understanding of the crew. The ship has to withstand the wind and waves and defend against the sneak attacks of the underwater fishmen, so the ship's structure is not normal. And the old shipwright is not normal. He was once a high-ranking member of the Shipwright Guild, and his biggest wish in life is to personally build a high-quality ship that belongs to him. Jinjin fell in a deep thought for a moment. Zhongji's gaze was fixed on Jinjin, and at this moment he opened his mouth. Jinjin, you are a dignified, holy temple knight. When we found out that we were abandoned, and the only shipwright who can build ships was taken away, is it too much for us to chase after you? The pressure was immediately transferred to Jinjin. Zhongji's words were consistent with his valiant fighting style, and he directly forced Jinjin into a corner. Jinjin slightly raised his head and calmly looked at Zhonggu. Your choice is indeed reasonable. When these words came out, Blockhead, Shi saw, and the others were slightly restless. Master, ZD came to Jinjin's side and could not help but remind him in a low voice. Jinjin turned his head and smiled at his fiancée, indicating that the latter should not worry. Then, with his left hand on the hilt of the silver lightning rapier, he stepped forward and stood between the two sides. He looked around. His body was straight, his head was slightly raised, and his golden hair shone under the sunlight. He said in a clear voice, "As a holy temple knight, I uphold the principle of fairness. What happened in the camp, I did not experience it, and only listen to your narration. But what is right and what is wrong, I am not without the ability to distinguish. At the same time, I will not favor my own race because of my identity as a human, nor will I look down on others because of their identity as half-beastmen, half-elves, and goblins. The shipwreck happened, and we were all reduced to this island. We have to unite and help each other. Only by doing this can we increase our chances of escaping." Shisuo sneaked away with the shipwright. This action is wrong, and abandoning his companions is also very selfish. Sir Knight, when Shisuo heard this, he immediately shouted, his face full of anger. The crew behind him looked at Jinjin with eyes that were no longer as kind and respectful as before. You don't understand. Shisuo pointed his finger at Zhonggu, his voice trembling with anger. He killed my father. Jinjin nodded and looked at him. I have also heard about this matter. I understand your feelings very well. But where is the evidence? Shisuo immediately said, "My father's body has wounds, wounds caused by spear-type weapons. As long as we take out Zhongji's twin spears and examine the wounds, it will be the best evidence." Jinjin then looked at Zhongge. Zhongge crossed his arms in front of his chest, his chin slightly raised, looking at Shisuo and the others with contempt. "How can my spears be used so easily?" "You see, Lord Jinjin," Shisuo shouted, his finger pointing at Zhongge. Then he stared at Jinjin. "He is guilty. He does not dare to verify it. What else is there to say?" Jinjin stared at Zhongge. Although this was the first time they met, Zhongji's bravery and toughness left a deep impression on Jinjin. Zhongge carried a pair of short spears on his back. Just by looking at them, one could tell that they were of excellent quality. But facing the charge of the silver rhinoceros, Zhongge did not use this pair of short spears, even if he had to pay the price of being seriously injured. "Is there something that is hard to say?" Zhang Jin guessed, at the same time looking at Shisa. "Do you have any other evidence?" Shisuo widened his eyes and looked at Zhang Jin in disbelief. "What other evidence do you need?" Zhongji's attitude is the best evidence. He does not dare to verify it at all, because he is the murderer of my father. I admit that he is very strong, but it is because of this that he could assassinate my father. Zhang Jin shook his head slightly. Zhongge is not willing to verify it. That is his problem. Before there is conclusive evidence, we can doubt and work hard to prove it, but we should not slander him. In fact, even if the wound is the same as Zhongji's spear, it is not conclusive evidence, because the wound can also be faked. Shisuo could not help but take a step back, his face full of misery, and asked loudly, "Sir, you would rather believe a beast man than your own race?" Chapter 96. The crew members were restless, looking at Jinjin with suspicion. "Shisuo, pay attention to your words." Lan Zhao stepped forward, but in the next moment, Zhang Jin reached out to stop him. Zhang Jin looked calmly at the agitated Shisuo with his blue eyes. "I am just stating facts and upholding justice. The identity of a beast man should not obstruct us from investigating the real culprit. If Zhonggu is not the real culprit, then Shisuo, please think about it. You have framed an innocent person, and because you took away the shipwright for revenge, you have implicated many innocent people on the same ship, putting them to death. And the real culprit might still be alive, right by your side, watching you frame others and seeing your fight with Zhonggu and the others as a good show. If that is the case, don't you think that this is condoning evil and covering justice in the dust?" Zhang Jin's tone was steady from beginning to end, and this rhetorical question made Shisuo's face turn red, but he could only remain silent. The crew's discussion also calmed down. They had to admit that Zhang Jin's words were very reasonable. "If you have conclusive evidence, I will definitely uphold justice for you. Believe me, this is the promise that I, Zhang Jin, a temple knight, make to you." Zhang Jin patted Shisuo's shoulder. Shisuo opened his mouth, looking at Zhang Jin without saying anything. He turned his head to look at the expressionless Zhonggu and said angrily, "Lord Zhang Jin, I believe you." ZD narrowed her eyes. "But Lord Zhang Jin, we once found traces of Zhonggu, Sandao, and the others. They purposely cleaned up the battlefield and cleaned up their tracks. This action itself contains malice, isn't it?" "It's my habit." Zhonggu took the initiative to explain. Zhang Jin's words had changed his impression of the young knight. "I have to be responsible for myself, for our group. Even if the shipwright is not willing to go with me, I will do my best to capture him alive." Zhonggu did not hide his intentions. "Bad guy." When the blockhead heard this, he angrily hammered the wooden stick on the ground. Zhang Jin suddenly remembered He Wan's guess. He stared at Zhonggu. "This is the style of a soldier. Did you serve in the army?" "Which army?" Zhonggu snorted coldly. He did not refute, nor did he answer. Instead, he said, "Are you interrogating a prisoner, paladin?" "Of course not." Zhang Jin shook his head. "However, this matter still needs to be resolved. Good communication was the prerequisite for cooperation. If you refuse to prove yourself again and again, how can we believe you? Zhong sneered. You want me to prove myself? Then how can you prove your identity? If some random people come out and call you a noble, say that you are a paladin, do you think you can convince us? I heard that every paladin is always under the gaze of the Shengming Emperor. Maybe you should pray to God and give us a divine spell so that we can believe you without any doubt. Zheng Jin immediately gripped the hilt of his sword. His eyebrows wrinkled, his face sank, and his eyes became as cold as ice. He shouted in a low voice, Zhong, watch your words. You dare to look down on God. I bear the gaze of the Shengming Emperor. This is the blessing of God. The divine spell is the gift of God. It is not for show or to prove one's identity. Apologize to me now, right now. Otherwise, you will incur the wrath of a paladin. As Zheng Jin spoke, he took a step forward and approached Zhong. Behind him, Lan Zhao, He Wan, and the others took out their weapons. ZD reached into her bag, and Blockhead picked up the wooden club and growled from the depths of his throat. In just a short while, the wounds on the little giant's body had already stopped bleeding. The giant's blood gave him a strong recovery ability. Zhong Ji's face changed slightly. He also realized that he had said something wrong. He put his right hand on his chest and bowed to Zheng Jin. I was wrong. How could I dare to look down on a god? This is my sin. I swear, I will contribute 300 gold to the Shengming Temple as a punishment for my words. Also, I will kneel in front of the Shengming Temple's priests and take the initiative to repent for my sins today. This was the era of God. Slandering God would indeed incur God's wrath. Just like how nobles were supposed to be high and mighty, their beliefs were even more deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Even Sandao and the others who followed Zhong felt uneasy when they heard what Zhong had just said. They secretly thought that Zhong was too reckless. Seeing that Zhong Ji's attitude was very sincere, Zheng Jin's face relaxed a little. Heiwan suddenly said, Wait, Zhong, do you dare to swear to the god you believe in that you are not the one who attacked the camp and killed the captain? Attacked the camp? Zhong was puzzled. Our camp was attacked by bat monkeys and rhinoceroses. Do you dare to swear that you are not the one who control these beasts? Heiwan continued to reprimand him. Zhong snorted coldly. He crossed his arms and held his head high. He did not answer. Sandao's people were so angry that they laughed. How imaginative. Use your brain. We are all here. How do we control these beasts? Heiwan sneered. Then how do you explain that our second camp, Shi Saw, and the shipwright were all attacked by the beasts? We were also attacked. Why are you suspecting us? Heiwan stared at Zhong and narrowed his eyes. You are a half-beast human, even if you don't have any special methods. The people around you might not have any special methods. Sandao stared coldly at Heiwan and lightly asked, Can a half-beast human control the beasts? Just because you have a half-beast human bloodline. Heiwan sneered. Then why did you appear in time to save Blockhead and the shipwright? How do you explain that? So you're saying that we were wrong to save the shipwright in time? Didn't your Sir Knight also appear in time? Someone immediately asked. In the end, you are suspecting us because we are not pure-blooded humans. The people around Sandao were filled with righteous indignation. Stop talking. Zhong raised his hand to stop the argument. He looked at Zheng Jin, and his attitude became cold and unyielding again. I have no explanation for this matter. I don't need to explain it to you. Zheng Jin sighed deeply and stopped the people behind him from questioning. There is no point in continuing to argue. Let's go back to the camp together. Zheng Jin took the initiative to invite Zhong and the others. What? Sir, you want to bring these goods back to the camp? Shi Suo and the others stared with wide eyes. They were shocked by Zheng Jin's decision. Zheng Jin's blue eyes slowly swept over Shi Suo and the others. His gaze was clear and sincere. What else? We are all on the same boat. We are all victims of the shipwreck. We have injured people who need to return to the camp to rest. They also have injured people who were injured because of saving the shipwright. I saw this with my own eyes. What you see may not be the truth, my sir, Wan said. What if it is a play of bitterness? What if it is a ruse? Thank you for your reminder. Jin looked at Wan with praise. What you say is reasonable. There is such a possibility. However, there is another possibility, is there not? Before all the possibilities and all the suspicions are confirmed, we should not deny one possibility because of another. Manga might have been wrongly accused, isn't he? Everyone, please think about it. If he is a pure-blooded human and not a half-beastman, would your suspicions of him be lessened? Everyone was speechless. Jin turned around and looked at Zhongji's people. We come from many places. We have differences in status. But here, we are all victims who have fallen to this island and want to escape. Our goal is the same. We should be united. Any suspicion, indifference, disgust, opposition, etc., will make it difficult for us to work together. It will reduce our chances of escaping. I am the Holy Knight, Jin. Here, I promise everyone that I will treat everyone fairly and justly, no matter where they come from, no matter what race they are, no matter what bloodline they have. I will also punish the criminals and the real culprits. I will not let them go unpunished. I will do my best to lead everyone in search for the hope of salvation. For a moment, everyone looked at the golden-haired young man, moved by his resolute words. You are willing to accept us? Sandao was stunned. As the leader of a mercenary group, he had interacted with many different kinds of people. However, even with his rich life experience, it was rare to see such a superior and noble person who treated everyone equally. Jin smiled. I am a holy knight. I will not deceive you with lies. Holy knight. Many people chewed on this word and were a little absent-minded. Interesting. Zonga rubbed his chin and looked deeply at Jin. He looked at the young knight in front of him with a new gaze. The next moment, the valiant warrior raised his voice slightly. That's fine too. Then I will follow you back. Sir, the people around Zonga were surprised. Just like how Shisuo and the others were guarding against Zonga, Zonga and the others were also guarding against him. Sandao immediately said, Sir's decision is my decision. The former mercenary group members who had objections to this immediately shut their mouths. Jin's rescue of Shisuo, Shipwright, and the others was very timely and successful. Although the bat monkeys and the silver rhinoceros attacks were fierce, everyone was only injured and no one died. The journey back was smooth, and the large group of people safely returned to the camp. There's actually an arrow tower. They built a camp so quickly. This place was also attacked by fierce beasts. Didn't I say? It's a group of bat monkeys and that silver rhinoceros. The people around Sandao discussed animatedly. Mu Ban and the others were overjoyed when they saw Jin and Shisuo, but when they saw Zonga and the others, they were surprised. After Wan and the others' explanation and Jin's consolation, Mu Ban and the others reluctantly accepted this fact. However, under their strong stance, Zonga and the others were not accepted into the camp and were temporarily stationed nearby. P.S. Poor subscriptions, little friends. To be honest, this was out of my expectations. When this book was on the shelves, there were over 80,000 bookmarks, but now there are only over 2,000 subscriptions and an average of 1,000 subscriptions. This subscription ratio is a little unreasonable. I analyzed the reason in the morning. 1. The pace of the book is slow, especially in the early stages, causing more and more people to buy books. 2. Because of the group characters and the storyline, using the movie structure, there are many foreshadowing and the power of the characters is distributed to each character, causing the conflicts to not be dense and causing people to not have the motivation to chase more chapters. 3. The main character has not reached the time of realization. The Temple Knight's grand and righteous style and Feng Yuan style are two extremes. This caused a large number of our original readers to lose their patience. 4. The strength system is old and has no new ideas. 5. There are too many things that need to be improved. The steps are too big and the balls are pulled. There may be other reasons, but I will reflect on it and actively adjust it. I will appeal to the students who want to read the pirated version to try to read the original version. Each chapter only costs a few cents. Indeed, this writing method may not be in line with the reading habits of online novels. I had already expected this, but I did not expect it to be so miserable. I have already said in my acceptance speech that I have let go of any burden of fame and am exploring a new writing path as a pure author. Thus, no matter what the final result is, I will calmly accept it. I firmly believe that a good novel is a good novel. A solid and wonderful story has a natural attraction, and gradually there will be more readers who can appreciate this writing method. Just like when I started writing True Master Gu, the situation was similar to now, and then I slowly wrote it. Thus, please rest assured, I will still do my best to write. This book is the same as my other books. As long as there is no strong external cause, it will not be unfinished or have a bad ending. Seeing some readers talking about the matter of a burst chapter, I also want to, but there is no way to do so. The group character writing, the adjustment of the plot, as well as learning and absorbing knowledge, all require a lot of time and energy. Currently, 2 chapters is already the limit, and in the future, because of the concept of quality first, it may be adjusted to 1. But I will do my best to write 2 more chapters. I cannot help but sigh. In the past decade or so, the formation of the writing style of online novels has a very strong foundation in reality. The fragmented reading experience of online novels. With such a subscription incentive, it is natural for most people to choose the writing style of online novels. After all, you have to eat first to survive. But I will persevere. I feel that moonlight is more beautiful. I can write an even more beautiful novel this way. Chapter 97. The shipwright slowly opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was the broken roof of the wooden house. "Father, you're awake. You're alive again," the blockhead shouted. The old shipwright, who was still a bit dizzy, was shocked by the thunderous voice. He frowned and shouted, "Shut up. I'm not your father. I don't have a stupid son like you." The sailors who heard the commotion came to the wooden house. Hearing the old shipwright's shout, someone laughed. "Come on. When you found this abandoned baby, you were the only one who didn't want to throw him away. You were the one who raised him up with a lot of shit and piss. If you're not his father, who else can you be?" Someone else said, "You were unconscious at the time, so you didn't see it. Your stupid son used his own body as a shield to protect you. Otherwise, you would have been torn apart by those bat monkeys. Blockhead, protect father. Father is not afraid." The blockhead pounded his chest, making thumping sounds. The old shipwright looked at the blockhead and coldly snorted. "I'm a pure-blooded human. At the top, I'm your adoptive father." "Adoptive father," the old shipwright repeated. His tone was disdainful, but his eyes were filled with warmth. Seeing the big blockhead wrapped in bandages, he revealed a worried expression. "How's your injury? Let me take a look." The old shipwright waved his hand. "Don't look if you can walk. Then quickly go greet Lord Jinjin." "Lord Jinjin?" The crew recounted what had happened to the old shipwright. The old shipwright was stunned. Only now did he know that if Zhonggu didn't stop the silver rhino, he would have died. He couldn't help but feel scared. At the same time, he became worried. This Lord Jinjin, he actually invited Zhongji's group into the camp? He is a temple knight, but isn't he a bit too young? Sigh, no matter what, let's go greet this important person first. The shipwright was supported by someone and walked out of the broken wooden house. In the open space of the camp, several bonfires were burning at the same time. Large pieces of lizard meat were being roasted on the fire, emitting a strong aroma. There was plenty of drinkable water. Jinjin even had a small bottle of rum in his hand. These were supplies from the crew. This was the first time the shipwright saw Jinjin. He immediately placed his hand on his chest and knelt down to greet Jinjin. "Get up." Jinjin seemed to be very happy as he chuckled. "We'll have to rely on you in the future, old shipwright." "We don't know how to build ships," Jinjin encouraged. The old shipwright stood up, but lowered his head even more. "I will do my best." Jinjin waved his hand. "Go down and eat. Take care of your body." The young knight took the skewers in front of him, and took the initiative to walk towards Zhonggu. Zhonggu and the others were gathered on one side, while Zhenjin and the others were clearly separated. Zhenjin had just taken a step when he attracted everyone's attention. Under countless gazes, Zhenjin came in front of Zhonggu and handed him the roasted meat. "Here, I have a taste of the lizard meat," Zhenjin said with a smile. His handsome face was shining with a dazzling brilliance under the light of the fire. Zhonggu calmly took the lizard meat, took a big bite, chewed a few times, and swallowed it. "This is the green lizard of the desert that can shoot acid." Zhonggu tasted it and frowned. "It doesn't seem to be much. Maybe the silver rank green lizard leader's meat is better?" "I've eaten the silver green lizard's meat. The taste is about the same." "Zhonggu, if you want to hear it, I can describe it to you in detail. Actually, it's good for us to exchange information," Zhenjin said. Sandao stared at Zhenjin expressionlessly. The Lord Zhenjin bravely broke into the island, took pity on the weak, and saved the good. "We've already heard about it from others." Zhenjin smiled bitterly. "What kind of hero am I? I try my best and only brought 4 of my companions. On this island, my ability is limited." Here, Zhonggu took the meat skewers from the fire and handed them to Zhenjin. "The silver bear meat might be better. Let's call it bear, although it has the tail of a monkey and the hands of an orangutan." "Monkey tail brown bear," Zhenjin said. His pupils shrank imperceptibly, but the smile on his face did not change at all. He naturally took the bear meat. "All right, this is for you. It can heal your injuries. Use it as soon as possible. When Miss CD made it, she told me that this bottle of medicine will lose its effect after a day." Zhenjin threw a bottle of medicine to Zhonggu. Zhonggu subconsciously took it. Just as he was about to reply, Zhenjin had already turned and left. After this exchange, Zhenjin and Zhonggu did not say anything else. After dinner, Zhonggu and the others left the camp and returned to their temporary tent. "Sir, I brought you another bat monkey." Baya carried a dead bat monkey and came to Song-Su's tent. With the supplies brought by Shisuo and the others, Song-Su finally did not have to sleep in a hammock. Zhenjin specially arranged for him to have his own tent. In the tent, other than a mattress on the floor, there was a long wooden table. There were a few lit candles on the wooden table. The table was dripping with blood. The bat monkey's wings, skull, and eyeballs were scattered everywhere. Song-Su was still wearing his glasses with broken lenses. At this time, he was using an iron rod to pry open the bat monkey's throat and carefully looking inside with the candlelight. What strong vocal cords, coupled with extraordinary lungs. No wonder it can produce such strong sound waves. Song-Su murmured. He did not look at Baya and only said, "Put this bat monkey down." Baya obeyed and put down the bat monkey. Just as he was about to turn and leave, he heard Song-Su ask again, "This bat monkey was killed by Goblin Sandao." "Yes," Baya replied. "According to your request, I picked it out from the bat monkey's corpse. I also received confirmation from others." Song-Su stroked the wound on the bat monkey's neck, clean and efficient. He is an expert with a knife. Baya stood motionless. He had a hesitant look on his face. He opened his mouth and finally voiced his doubts. "This group of people is very dangerous. Why does Lord Zhenjin still want to bring them back to the camp? Shouldn't we be on guard against them?" Song-Su began to use the knife and continued to cut down the bat monkey's neck. "Do you think it is easier to guard against them by throwing them into the dense forest or by keeping them under our noses?" Baya was slightly stunned. He then asked, since Lord Zhenjin is on guard against them, he must also be suspicious of Zhonggu. Why not just interrogate him directly? Sir is a dignified temple knight and a noble. No one would object to him interrogating a beast man. Sir is really too benevolent. Song-Su raised his eyes to look at Baya and then looked at the bat monkey's corpse on the table. Song-Su lowered his head and said, "You should have heard what the others said. Zhonggu, this beast man is very strong." Baya immediately refuted, "But he is injured." Song-Su nodded slightly. He pressed his hand down and finally used the knife to cut off the bat monkey's neck. "He is injured. But how serious is his injury? Don't look at him. He spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood. Maybe he's acting. Bai stared. Is there such a possibility? Why not? You lack battle experience, young man. Song Su laughed. And the most important point is that Zhonggu saved the old shipwright. If he didn't make a move, the old shipwright would have died. Zhonggu was injured because of this. Our Lord Jinjin, he definitely wouldn't take advantage of a burning house and add insult to injury. Sir, he said, by his side deeply. Song Su began to use the saw to cut at the bat monkey's skull. Moreover, there were also members of the Sandow mercenary group at that time. These people's fighting strength was much stronger than the crew. Once the conflict was ignited, it would trigger a chaotic battle. Even if Sir could defeat Zhonggu, it would be difficult to protect ZD, the old shipwright, and the others at the same time. If we forced the other side to kill the shipwright, then we wouldn't be able to make a ship, and we would have already left this island. Moreover, Sir had ZD with him at that time. Sir ZD couldn't use magic, and only had potions to protect herself. Why would Sir put his fiancée in danger? Baya nodded. It seems that Sir has thought it through carefully. Song Su sawed for a long time, but the bat monkey's skull was still hard enough to resist the saw. He stood up and waved to Baya. Come, help me saw this thing open. Baya didn't refuse or hesitate. He immediately came to the table and took the saw. He used his fractured and still recuperating hand to stabilize the bat monkey's head, and used his other arm to cut with all his strength. Song Su stood to the side, panting. Seeing how hard Baya worked, he decided to give the young man a few more pointers. After all, Baya had saved his life. Although Song Su had publicly proposed to use Baya as food, but that was because there was too little food and they had no other choice. Under such circumstances, Song Su was even willing to contribute himself to be Zhang Jin's food. Under such circumstances, Song Su's attitude towards Baya was naturally different. Song Su said, Sir, there are actually many benefits to doing this. First of all, Sir has retained and is expanding the possibility of recruiting this group of people. Didn't they refuse? Baya was puzzled. Do they really not want to? Song Su laughed. If you were one of them, would you rather follow Zhonggu or Lord Jinjin? Of course, Lord Jinjin. Baya didn't hesitate. Yes. Song Su sighed, feeling very emotional. The competition in the mercenary world is very cruel. The few mercenary groups standing at the top of the tower are indeed glorious. But the Sandow mercenary group isn't. The Goblin Sandow is only at the iron level. His mercenary group is at most mid-level. As a mercenary, how many can truly have a good ending? Young people may be naive, but these mercenaries have been around for half their lives. They have already seen the reality and recognized themselves. What kind of people are they? What kind of bloodline can they have? Song Su sneered. Following Jinjin is very tempting for them, because this could be a chance to change their entire lives. To be able to gain the favor of a great person like Lord Jinjin and allow them to follow him is such a rare opportunity. They cannot know. Then why did they refuse? Baya asked. Song Su laughed. People follow the crowd. These mercenaries follow Sandow, and their inertia is too strong. It can't be changed in a short period of time. Moreover, this is the first time they have met Lord Jinjin, and they don't understand Sir's nobility. But Sir ZD has already planted the seeds of recruitment in their hearts. In the future, when these seeds take root and germinate, Lord Jinjin will personally open his mouth to recruit them. There is almost no possibility of failure. It is necessary to recruit them. You've already experienced how dangerous this island is. So, we have to unite with anyone who can be united. We have to cherish every precious human resource. Think about it. Maybe in the future, a ship will be successfully built. We can control the ship, but it will be caught in a storm. Because we lack a sailor and don't lower the sail in time, the ship will capsize and we will all die at the bottom of the sea. Although this idea is a bit extreme, who can really predict the future? Can you think of shipwreck? Baya shook his head. Song Su said, Lord Jinjin has a great advantage in recruiting these people. Zhonggu is only a beast man. His identity and bloodline are his biggest flaws. As long as they have been in contact with him for a long time, these people will naturally be attracted to Lord Jinjin. But Zonggu is very likely to be the murderer. Baya whispered and stopped the saw in his hand. Continue, don't stop. Song Su immediately reminded him. Oh. Baya hurriedly buried his head in sawing the monkey's head. Song Su looked at the young man's hard work and laughed silently. Do you think Zonggu is the murderer? How would I know? Baya shook his head. Then do you think it's possible? Song Su changed the way he asked. Isn't he the most suspicious? Shisuo said a lot during dinner. Baya wanted to repeat, but was immediately interrupted by Song Su. You have to think for yourself, Baya. Carefully think back. Zongji's behavior before and after. Do you think he's the murderer? Song Su continued to guide Baya. Baya seriously thought this time and said in an uncertain tone, I feel that Zonggu is a very arrogant person. It seems like he wouldn't do something like assassinate someone. Song Su didn't comment on Baya's guess, but analyzed Zongji's behavior. We can say that Zonggu saved shipwright for himself. But Sandao and the others didn't make a move against Jinjin and Shisuo, right? According to the situation at that time, Zonggu and the others had a good chance of killing Blockhead and forcefully capturing the unconscious shipwright. But they didn't do that. Even though his attitude towards Lord Jinjin was very disrespectful, it could be said that he offended Lord Jinjin. But in the end, he didn't make a move and kept communicating with Lord Jinjin. Baya thought of something and became very angry. Does that count as communicating? He even dared to ask Lord Jinjin to use divine arts to prove his identity. I think that was more of a test, and not that Zonggu was really reckless. He didn't know how strong Lord Jinjin was. After all, divine arts are powers bestowed by the gods, and are fundamentally different from battle chi and magic. Zonggu wasn't sure if divine arts were prohibited on this island. Baya's eyes lit up. So, Lord Jinjin actually saw through it. He berated Zonggu, causing Zonggu to fear Lord Jinjin, and he didn't dare to act rashly. That's right. It's good that you can think of this. Now, let's talk about Shisuo. Song Su said, What's wrong with Shisuo? He's a very good person. Even though he's the third mate, he doesn't put on airs and is very easygoing. Baya said, Shisuo isn't simple. Song Su pushed up his glasses. If you think about it carefully, the captain is his father. In other words, Shisuo is the heir to the pig's kiss. The pig's kiss is the captain's personal property, and it will definitely be Shisuo's in the future. How do the crew normally view Shisuo? Even if he's not the young master, he's still the future boss. Shisuo was promoted to third mate, so you can imagine his status on the ship. When the shipwreck happened, the survivors came to the beach. The first mate hid a lot of food. Does Shisuo, as the third mate, know about it? If I were the first mate and the leader of the crew, the first thing I would do is to win the support of the crew. The third mate has a special place in the hearts of the crew. As the first mate, in order to stabilize the people's hearts and for my own image, I would also take care of the third mate in private. Therefore, Shisuo is very likely to be the beneficiary of the first mate's secret stash of food. However, the first mate was overthrown by Zonggu. Zonggu became the leader. Even if he rebuilds the ship, it has nothing to do with Shisuo. What's more dangerous is that Zonggu is a strong person. The longer he holds the position of leader, the greater his influence. In the beginning, the crew followed Shisuo, but after a while, they followed Zonggu. Without the ship and without the crew following him, what does Shisuo have left? Baya was stunned. Song Su stroked his white beard. Let's take a look at the wound on the captain's body. The captain's body was found after Zonggu came to power. Coincidentally, there was a penetrating wound on the body, which looked like it was caused by a spear. Even more coincidentally, Zonggu carried a pair of short spears on his back all day, which attracted a lot of attention. Baya couldn't help but open his mouth wide, and the saw in his hand stopped again. Chapter 98. In the tent, Song Su continued. However, Zonggu is undoubtedly strong, and he is not alone. He also has the Sandao following him. The Sandow is surrounded by his former mercenary group members. The rumors about the beast man eating humans and the suspicion of the real murderer of the captain made the crew and the mercenary group members stand against each other. However, the mysterious attacks did not stop. Almost every night, someone died, and the people in the camp were in a state of panic. Would leaving the camp avoid the attacks? Everyone must have thought so. The more afraid people are, the more dangerous the situation is, and the stronger the mentality of relying on the strong. Although all kinds of rumors point to Zhonggu is still stronger than Shisua. Shisua's influence will continue to decline. In this case, if Shisua does not take advantage of his influence to start a new life, the crew will soon rely on the beastman Zhonggu. Although people look down on the beastmen, this is a matter of life and death, and this is completely secondary. Thinking about it this way, it is not strange that Shisua secretly encouraged others to leave the camp when the main force was building the second batch of exploration teams. Baya looked at the old scholar in front of him, blinking repeatedly, and was speechless for a moment. It was as if the door to a new world had suddenly opened. Baya's heart was filled with horror, fear, and joy. The complex emotions, difficult to describe, stimulated the young man to have a sudden inspiration. I understand. Baya suddenly shouted. I understand why Zhonggu did not examine the wound. Was it just arrogance? That's not it, because he also knows that there is no point in examining it. Shisua will work hard to prove that he is the murderer. If the wound is consistent with Zhongji's short spear, it proves that Shisua's efforts were successful. If it doesn't match, then Shisua can also say that it's because the corpse was soaked in seawater and deformed. So, even if Zhonggu really went to verify it, he wouldn't be able to prove his innocence. It was also very likely that he would fall into Shisua's trap and be framed even more deeply. Since Shisua deliberately created this wound, he must have put in a lot of effort. Sangsu nodded and smiled. Young man, you finally learned how to use your brain. Keep this good habit and you will benefit immensely. Baya frowned again. However, Zhonggu is so strong, and Shisua is only bronze ranked. He actually dared to frame Zhonggu. This was too bold. Zhonggu is completely aware of Shisua's scheme. Isn't Shisua afraid that Zhonggu will kill him with one punch? Sangsu explained, blame it on the fact that Zhonggu is a beast man. If he was a pure human, it would be different. Shisua saw an opportunity in this. More importantly, human nature is greedy and selfish. Blinded by the greed in their hearts, aren't there many people who take risks for their own benefits? However, Sangsu's expression became serious, and he stared deeply into Baya's eyes. You have to understand that our discussion above is only speculation. There is no evidence. If you say this out loud, then you're the biggest fool in the camp. Baya couldn't help but feel depressed. He believed that this was the truth, but he couldn't say it out loud. Everyone is muddle-headed. Some are really muddle-headed. Some are just pretending. I was really muddle-headed before, but now I have no choice but to pretend. Baya's mood became even more complicated. Sangsu reiterated, unity is the most important thing right now. You have to understand that this is the most important thing. At the same time, our discussion is really only speculation. Just as the Lord Jinjin said, before the truth is revealed, before the facts are proven, don't trust others easily, and don't trust your own judgment too much. Our hearts must be broad, and we must dare to accept and be prepared to accept any possibility. So, in fact, the Lord Jinjin has already seen through the trick. I was still a fool before. Alas, he really is the Lord. By his side with admiration, Sangsu smiled. Do you know the 100 Needles clan's teachings? Don't overestimate people, and don't underestimate them. The Lord Jinjin is a true holy knight. He has noble virtues, but at the same time, he is also a qualified aristocrat. In this game of power, he can handle it with ease. But the Lord Jinjin is really too lenient. He even gave Zhonggu a healing medicine. By his side again. This is the brilliance of the Lord. Could it be a fake medicine? Baya widened his eyes again. That possibility is very small. The Lord Jinjin is definitely not such a person. Song Su said. Then what if Zonggu is cured? What if he does something bad to the Lord? Bai was very worried. Song Su's smile became meaningful. The Lord Jinjin did give the medicine, and Zonggu also accepted it. The question is, Zonggu dares to use it? Zonggu, who had returned to the tent, quietly looked at the medicine in his hand. The medicine was in a small glass bottle. It was in a liquid state, and the light blue color was somewhat beautiful. Zonggu had no plans to use the medicine, because he had no way to guarantee that the medicine would be beneficial to him. He and Jinjin had only met for the first time. According to others, Zhanjin had the noble spirit of a knight, but Zonggu was more willing to believe in his own judgment. Jinjin might not use such a despicable trick, but what about that little girl ZD? This is the medicine made by ZD. Maybe she is hiding something from Jinjin. Zonggu could not use Doqi. If he had Doqi, even if he took poison, he would have a certain resistance. I can't use Doqi. My body is much stronger than Jinjin's. Jinjin can't use Doqi either, but magic, it's hard to say. In Zongji's mind, the confrontation when he rescued the shipwright appeared again. Zhanjin's attitude was extremely tough, and he was really on the verge of fighting. In addition, he took the initiative to accept Zongji's group and gave them the medicine during dinner. All this shows that Zhanjin has nothing to fear. Then, if he can pray, there is a high possibility that he will obtain magic. Zongji's eyes were deep. He was deep in thought. It was quiet inside the tent, but the conversation and discussion of the Three Blades mercenary group's members could be heard faintly from outside. Zongji's ears trembled slightly. His lion blood made his hearing very sensitive. Is this medicine effective? Will there be any problems? Zhanjin not only gave Zonggu the medicine in public, but also ordered people to give Sandao and the others a batch of healing medicine after dinner. Hey, what are you afraid of? Would Lord Jinjin scheme against small people like us? Don't think too highly of yourself. Don't worry, I used it. It feels good, much better than the medicine I have on me. Sigh. I spent a lot of money to buy the magic medicine, but in the end, it has no effect at all. Help me apply it. I can't reach my back. Wow, it's cool and refreshing. The pain is immediately relieved. It's really useful. Wait, your butt is still injured. Let me apply it for you. I'll do it myself. Can you see? Just lie down obediently for me. Oh, you're embarrassed? I can't tell usually. Get lost. If you want to apply it, hurry up and apply it. Stop talking nonsense. Slap, slap, slap. Hiss, hiss, hiss. I told you to apply it. Why are you patting my wound? Only by applying force can the medicine penetrate. Do you understand? Get lost. Ha. After a while, all the wounded were applied the medicine. The topic naturally turned to Jinjin. Did you hear what the people in the camp said? The Lord Jinjin never left his fiancée. He even helped many times to save the weak. When there was a lack of food, he even gave his food to the old man and water to the people who fainted. This is just someone deliberately spreading it, right? I heard it too. It doesn't seem like it. The rumors are untrue and can't stand up to questioning, but these things are very specific and can be described in detail. Let's not talk about anything else. Just seeing how the Lord Jinjin accepted us and let us return to the camp together proves that he is different from the other nobles. He is a holy knight. What's really annoying is Shi Sua's group. They actually didn't want us to sleep in the camp. Today, we are the ones who save them. The camp is too small. They're also afraid that we will harm them. This group of crew members is selfish and not trustworthy at all. If it was the Lord Jinjin, how could that disgusting first mate have anything to do with him? I heard that the Lord Jinjin took the ship this time to go to the wilderness continent and compete for the position of White Sand City Lord. Unfortunately, because of this shipwreck, he has already missed the opportunity. When these words were thrown out, everyone's conversation strangely stopped. When the conversation continued, it was as if Jinjin had been thrown to the back of their minds. No one took the initiative to mention him again. In the tent, Zonggu revealed a bitter expression. He understood the mentality of these former mercenary group members very well. They were discriminated against. They did not live as they wished. They were too eager to be accepted. "Sir, are you asleep?" Sandow's voice came from the tent. When he walked, he was silent. Even Zhongge did not notice his footsteps. Only when he opened his mouth did Zhongge notice Sandow's position. "Come in," Zhongge said. Sandow opened the tent's curtains and came in front of Zhongge. He half knelt on the ground and bowed to Zhongge, his gaze looking at the ground below Zhongji's feet. "Sir, tomorrow morning, let me challenge Jinjin and find out his background." "Oh, why do you want to do this?" Zhongji's eyes flashed with a trace of light. Sandow raised his head, still half kneeling. "Sir Zhongge, although I've only followed you for a short time, but I can feel your ambition and ambition. You brought elite equipment and took a ship to the wilderness continent alone. You must want to achieve something. And if you want to make a name for yourself, although it's free and easy to do it alone, gathering everyone will make you even more valuable, my lord. But the shipwright was saved by you, but he only wants to see Jinjin. Our identity restricts us. Compared to Jinjin, your biggest advantage is your powerful martial strength. As long as everyone knows that you are the strongest in the camp, then Jin's identity will be greatly reduced. Just based on physical strength, Jin cannot compare to Sir. The only thing to worry about is his divine techniques. Let me scout for Sir. Tomorrow morning, we will find out Jin's background." Chapter 99. Under the dim candlelight, Zhongge looked at Sandow quietly. The goblin in front of him was half kneeling on the ground, a white linen scarf covering his mouth, but his eyes were full of sincerity and determination. At this moment, Zhongge suddenly had a deeper understanding of Sandow. Besides saving his life, there was another reason why Sandow followed Zhongge. That was a sense of identity. We are all the same, people on the edge of society. We are all ostracized, suppressed, and discriminated against. If we were pure-blooded humans, we would definitely be able to live a better life. But the reality is that even if we have strong abilities and make outstanding contributions, we are still treated unfairly. Therefore, compared to Jinjin, Sandow wanted to see Zhongge succeed more. Zhongge was silent for a moment, then said lightly, "Sandow, I understand your loyalty, but don't be too impatient. Jinjin, this kid, is very skillful. First, he accepted us in front of everyone despite their objections. During dinner, he gave us barbecued meat and medicine in front of everyone, and even offered to share information. These actions are very popular. No matter what reason you use tomorrow, as long as you challenge him, others will be angry. They will think that you don't know how to appreciate favors and don't know how to be grateful. They will also think that it wasn't your idea because you followed me, so it must have been my idea." Zhongge chuckled, "Just like how they framed me as the murderer of the captain. The truth isn't important. What's important is people's hearts. But, sir, if we don't do something soon..." Sandow gritted his teeth and looked hesitant. Zhongge continued, "If you challenge Jinjin now, the person who benefits the most will be him. Do you know why he accepted us and arranged for us to be near the camp? He doesn't just want to guard against or recruit us. He also wants to deepen his influence with the crew. He just came into contact with Shi Suo and his crew today, and he directly jumped to become the leader and seize power from Shi Suo. Why didn't Shi Suo resist, but choose to swallow the bitter pill? This is not only because of Jin's identity, and not only because Jin saved the camp and the lives of Shi Suo and the others, but also because we are right in front of them. If Shi Suo doesn't rely on Jinjin, he won't be able to resist me." Indeed, Sandow was suddenly reminded of this. If I challenge Jinjin, Shi Suo will definitely be more attached to Jinjin, and this gap will shrink to a negligible extent. Zhongge nodded. "We can't aggravate the conflict and strengthen the opposing emotions. Identity and bloodline are our weaknesses, and because of this, we need to gain the trust of the crew. Otherwise, with just us, even if we can fight, how can we control the ship? We need to be united. On this point, Jinjin and I agree. This is also why I agreed to come to this camp. This island is very dangerous. I still don't have a clue about the real culprit behind the mysterious attack on the beach camp. Whether it's Shisuo or us, we've been attacked by the bat monkeys and the silver rhinoceroses. This is very strange, and I have a feeling that someone is manipulating us from behind the scenes. The most important thing is to leave this place. When Junjin announced that he wanted to accept us, he actually issued a challenge to me. However, the stakes of this challenge are not just me and him, but also you, Shisuo's crew, and the possibility of leaving this place. When I agreed to come to this camp, I accepted this challenge. I already have a feeling that this will be a unique battle. Our methods can't be too simple and crude, Sandao. If we do that, we will lose. And if we want to investigate Junjin's strength, we don't need to be in a hurry to make a move. I have a feeling that the attacks of the bat monkeys and the rhinoceroses won't stop and will even become more intense. Sandao's heart trembled, and he quickly lowered his head. I completely understand, sir. Good, you can leave. This subordinate will take his leave. Sandao respectfully left the tent, and Song-Su entered the tent to meet Junjin. You've come, scholar, please sit. Junjin smiled. He had been waiting for a long time. Long before they left the camp to rescue the shipwright, and she saw, Junjin had given Song-Su a mission to dissect the bat monkey's corpses and report the information to him. Song-Su bowed. Sir, before I report to you, please give the order to add more fireplaces and torches around the camp, because I found that these bat monkeys have strong night fighting abilities. Junjin's expression became serious. This was a very important discovery. At night, a person's vision was greatly limited. If they fought with the bat monkeys without light, they would be at a disadvantage. Junjin readily accepted the advice and immediately gave the order. The group had just fallen asleep, and after receiving the order, they could only get up and go to work. Junjin also did not forget to send someone to inform Zhongge. After returning to the tent and listening to Song-Su's report, Junjin slightly frowned. You're saying that the bat monkeys can't see at night, but they can make a sound that we can't hear, and then, through the echo, determine everything around them? Song-Su nodded. That's exactly it. Just like when a person calls in a valley, the valley will repeat the call. This is a reflection of sound. Bats can fly in the dark, nimbly and quickly avoid obstacles, because they use ultrasound to detect obstacles in front of them. Seeing Junjin's puzzled expression, Song-Su continued to explain. The so-called ultrasound is a sound with a frequency higher than what we can hear. Similarly, there are also low sound waves, which refer to sound with a frequency lower than what our ears can accept. There have been scholars studying these for a long time. Silver Bridge Academy has related works. I've read them before. Junjin was even more puzzled. Ultrasound and low sound waves, Song-Su nodded. Research shows that there is a limit to what we can hear. There's an upper limit and a lower limit. We can't hear sounds outside this limit. Sounds above the upper limit are ultrasound. Sounds below the lower limit are low sound waves. Junjin scratched his head. Then you just mentioned a word, frequency. Is that the word? Song-Su was very patient. The precise definition of frequency is the number of times the sound source vibrates in a second. When I shake a thin wooden board, the wooden board is the sound source that will make a sound. The more I shake, the more frequent the movement, the higher the number of times the wooden board vibrates in a second, and the greater the frequency. When we ring a bell, the bronze bell will produce a rapid and small vibration due to the impact, thus producing a bell sound. And we humans speak because the vocal cords in our throats are vibrating, producing sounds. So that's how it is. Junjin felt that his horizons had been broadened all of a sudden. Song-Su continued. I found that bat monkeys have very strong vocal cords. Their throat structure is very similar to a bat's. At the same time, their ear structure is also very developed. Their nasal cavity looks like a monkey's, but there are a lot of skin folds inside. A bat's nose, because of these similar complex folds, can help its vocal cords to produce high-frequency ultrasound. And the bat monkey's lungs, vocal cords, and nose form a perfect match. Although the bat monkey's body is small, Its lungs have outstanding contraction ability and can expand several times its volume. The bat monkey's chest and respiratory muscles are also very developed. The bat monkey's eyes don't have night vision, but when they fly at night, they will continuously produce different frequencies of ultrasound. When these ultrasound meet something, it will be reflected back, allowing the bat monkey to receive it. The bat monkey can distinguish these echoes of different frequencies and nimbly dodge, not bumping into any obstacles. So that's how it is. Jinjin sighed. What a wonderful structure. In that case, these bat monkeys can see even in the thick fog? Song-su nodded. Sir, you are wise. You've worked hard, Song-su. Go and have a good rest. Yes, sir. Jinjin slept in the tent until the second half of the night. He got up and walked out of the camp. Sir, Lord Jinjin. The people in charge of the night watch saw him and bowed. You've worked hard. This is the first night, so I'm not at ease. Continue to be on guard. I'll go and check the surroundings. Jinjin's expression was indifferent as he bid farewell to these people. Looking at the back of the young knight, the guards couldn't help but whisper to each other. Sir, why did you enter the forest? It's late at night. Hee, you haven't heard, right? Lord Jinjin has experienced life and death and grasped the power of the soul. He can foresee danger. Any sneak attack will be ineffective against him. He's that powerful. The guards who heard this for the first time were amazed. Jinjin entered the forest and first mutated the lizard eyes. After confirming that there was no one around, he began to take off his clothes. After taking off his clothes and placing them properly, he canceled the lizard eyes mutation and began another transformation. After a flash of red light, he turned into a bat monkey. No matter if it was in the camp or in the process of rescuing the shipwright, Jinjin killed many bat monkeys. Adding the spoils of battle from other people, there were many bat monkey corpses. Jinjin asked for a large portion in the name of ZD, wanting to research potions, but in reality, he only gave ZD a small portion. He kept a portion of the bat monkeys and secretly used the magic crystal in his heart to refine them. This allowed him to completely change his choices from the original 3 to 4. The moment he completely transformed into a bat monkey, Jinjin felt the whole world change. Countless sounds were instilled in his ears. There were low buzzing sounds, sharp whistling sounds, rustling noises, and chewing sounds. The originally quiet forest at night only had the occasional cry of a nightingale or some kind of wild beast. But now, to Jinjin, it was as if he had suddenly come from the suburbs to a bustling city. So this is how a bat monkey feels. This is too noisy. Jinjin's first impression was not good. He had never heard so many sounds before. These sounds were mixed together and all drilled into his ears. It was as if they wanted to put him in colorful muddy water and stir him up, causing him to feel irritated and disgusted. Jinjin endured the noise and began to move his limbs. The bat monkey's body was similar to a human's body. This made it very easy for Jinjin to get used to it. After using the bat monkey's body to run and jump for a while, Jinjin suppressed his excitement and began to flap his bat wings, trying to fly. Although he could still fly after turning into a fat ball flying fish. But his speed was not fast. Rather than saying he was flying, it was more accurate to say he was floating. I can really fly now. Rise for me. The wings on Jinjin's back flapped strongly and then fiercely flapped. The rising force caused Jinjin's small body to jump up. Bang! He flew diagonally into the air and then hit his head on a tree with a dull thud. Then he lost control. The faster his wings flapped, the faster he fell to the ground. In the end, he smoothly touched the ground with his face and plunged into the grass. So flying is not easy. Jinjin pulled his face out of the mud and grass. He reached out and wiped the mud and grass off his face. He calmed himself down and told himself not to be impatient. He began to try flapping his left and right wings. His left wing flapped a few times, and then his right wing. The wings were very strong and gave him a very strong rising force. Jinjin tried to flap his left and right wings together. With puffing sounds, Jin slowly flew up in a crooked manner. He tried his best to stabilize his body. Seeing that he was about to hit the tree trunk again, he hurriedly reached out and grabbed it. The next moment, he stopped flapping his wings and flipped over, sitting on the tree trunk. Something awkward happened again. He didn't have time to retract his wings, and they were stuck in the dense branches. P.S. Thank you for the reward from the Silver Alliance Master of Wumu in Stone 2 days ago. Wumu in Stone is an old friend. Thank you for your strong support. Thank you for the reward from the Silver Alliance Master of Zmuk. I will do my best to complete Infinite Blood Core. I hope to bring you a different, exciting, and memorable reading experience. Chapter 100. Jin spent a lot of effort before he managed to pull his bat wings back from the branches. The youth was still not used to having a pair of wings, all of a sudden. But very quickly, the excitement of trying to fly took over his heart. He first tried to fly from the ground, but the results were not obvious. After that, Jin had a thought and climbed up a tree. He jumped down from a tall tree trunk, spread his bat wings, and practiced how to glide. He felt the precise connection between the air and his wings while flying. After changing his training method, Jin's training efficiency increased greatly. His understanding of flying became more and more profound. This kind of training also brought about another result. That was climbing trees. The bat monkey's 4 limbs were strong and powerful. The bat monkey's hands were like human hands, and the toes of its feet could be held together. This structure made climbing trees very easy. After practicing for a while, Jin improved a lot in flying, but he improved even more in climbing trees. He was now very adept at climbing trees. Using both his hands and feet, he could reach the top of the tree from the bottom in a few breaths. Sensing this progress, Jin changed his training method again. He began to learn from the monkeys, jumping between the trees. He first jumped up from a tree. After jumping into the air, he spread his bat wings and glided. Then, he quickly retracted his wings and landed on another tree. This kind of training method greatly increased his gliding time and efficiency. At the same time, it also trained his jumping ability. Previously, when Zongu rescued the shipwright and intercepted the silver rhinoceros, he kept jumping from tree branches as if he was falling from the sky. He must have trained in this aspect. From this, I can infer that his martial arts are not bad. Compared to him now, I definitely won't lose to him when jumping tree branches. The monkey's body structure is very suitable for moving between tree branches. After practicing flying for a while, Jin took the initiative to stop. With this training efficiency, I estimate that in another 3 days, I will know how to use my wings to fly between trees without hitting a wall, and to fly nimbly and quickly to turn flying into an instinct. That will take a lot more time. Jin calculated. There was still a chance that he would fail to fly now. The success rate of gliding was relatively high, but when he flapped his wings to fly, even if he controlled his body with all his might, it was inevitable that his flight path would be crooked. However, he had adapted to the bat monkey's body and would no longer be stuck between the branches like before. Jin stopped his flying training and squatted on a tree branch. Suddenly, his expression changed slightly. Countless voices could be heard in the quiet night. The soft sound of the wind, the rustling of the leaves, the gurgling of the river in the distance, the chirping of insects, the roar of beasts, and the singing of nightingales. I've also adapted to the bat monkey's ears. Jin understood. In the beginning, he heard too many voices. It was too noisy, and it annoyed him. But after that, he focused on training his flight and forgot about the noise. During this process, he gradually adapted to his outstanding hearing. When he calmed down, he immediately realized that he had made great progress in this area. Countless sounds were heard by his developed ears. At first, Jin tried to distinguish the types of sounds and guess their origins. But soon, he was immersed in the symphony of sounds. He subconsciously opened his mouth slightly, and his eyes lost focus. He was like a fledgling that successfully flew for the first time and flew into the sky. He was also like a drop of water that merged into the vast ocean. At this moment, he deeply felt a kind of beauty, the beauty of nature. Previously, on this island, Jean did not have enough clothes to cover his body and did not have enough food to fill his stomach. He was filled with anxiety and impatience between life and death. At a certain moment, he sat on a golden stone and looked at the night sky. His state of mind transformed, and he was no longer anxious or worried about his gains and losses. At a certain moment, he, ZD, and Song Su stared at the only 2 skewers of roasted meat and smiled at the hardships of life, becoming open-minded and calm. And such a moment had come again. This time, Jean forgot about himself. He was like an orphan who, after wandering for countless years, was embraced by a mother who had found him. He experienced his insignificance. He felt the beauty of nature, and he felt the great love of heaven and earth. This kind of beauty was so majestic, this kind of love was so moving. The emotion brought about by this was so strong and unexpected. It was like a surging wave that impacted Jin's heart and spread throughout his body and mind. He did not see it, he only heard it. He heard the magnificence of nature, the richness of nature, and the beauty of nature. Song Su said that the human ear was limited and could only hear sounds in a certain frequency range. Yes, people are limited. As a bat monkey, I also have happiness that ordinary people can't understand. Jin's thoughts wandered. He was immersed in this rich feeling of happiness and could not extricate himself for a moment. He thought of Droll. He understood Droll. Droll can turn into a bear, a wolf, and an eagle. They can also use different life forms to feel the beauty of nature. Therefore, Droll loves peace. They are angry at any existence that tramples and destroys nature. Naturally, it is so beautiful. It would be a pity if it was trampled and destroyed. The murder must be extremely despicable. He thought of the heart core again. My bat monkey's mutation was brought to me by the heart core. Perhaps the heart core is not as dangerous as I thought. It is like a sword. The key is the person who uses it. If it is used properly, it is used properly. If it is used maliciously, it is maliciously used. Then, Jin inexplicably thought of Shi Suo. His understanding of the thin rope had deepened yet again. According to Jin's speculation, the rumors in the beach camp and the wounds on the captain's body should have been caused by Shi Suo. Shi Suo was sinister and despicable, but he had encountered a shipwreck, lost his father, and his ship was destroyed. He had no property, the first mate was dead, and he had lost his backer. He desperately wanted to grab on everything he could to make him feel safer and confirm that he was still valuable and could still be a leader among the crew. He is despicable and hateful, but he is also pitiful. Perhaps this is the true meaning of kindness and tolerance. Jin wiped his cheeks. He cried. He understood the excitement of poets when they saw a masterpiece that would be handed down for generations, and the surging emotions of painters when they saw a peerless beauty. This was purely the touching feeling brought by beauty. And beauty could stimulate all kinds of beauty in the world, the light and kindness in human nature. Unfortunately, people often lack the ears to discover beauty. As time passed, Jin's mood gradually calmed down. There is still some time. I can still practice that ultrasound. If it were not for Song Su, Jin would not have turned into a bat monkey at night and deliberately shouted. But now he tried to shout. The next moment, the scream rang out. This shouldn't be an ultrasound. Jin took a deep breath and tried to control his vocal cords to make his voice sharp. This time, even he was startled by his own cry. This level was a little similar to the scream of a bat monkey during battle. But it's not an ultrasound either. Jin felt slightly excited again because he knew that he had found the right path. Next, he kept raising his voice as if someone was squeezing his throat and screaming. The frequency of his screams increased, as if his fingertips were scratching a lacquer board. However, listening to it with monkey ears was completely within the range of tolerance. It was not as unbearable as receiving it with human ears. A moment later, Jin successfully sent out the first ultrasound. Almost the next moment, he heard an echo. There are trees over there, and there are stones beside the trees. After receiving it with his ears, Jean naturally felt the location of the trees and stones, as well as the shape of a part of them. This feeling was quite strange. The night was dark, and Jean could not see clearly with the naked eye. It was pitch black. However, this feeling unreasonably appeared in Jean's heart. It was a big tree and a stone under the tree. Jean immediately flew over to verify. His feeling was correct. The bat monkey's eyes do not have night vision. However, when they fly at night, they will constantly send out ultrasound of different frequencies. When these ultrasound waves meet something, they will reflect back and be received by the bat monkey. The bat monkey can distinguish these echoes of different frequencies and dodge nimbly without bumping into any obstacles. Sang Su's words once again appeared in Jean's mind. Jean immediately understood one of the key points: different frequencies. Therefore, he continued to send out ultrasound waves and control his vocal cords. The frequency of the ultrasound waves was different. The ultrasound waves were transmitted back, and Jean's ears successfully received them. Because of the different frequencies, Jean could distinguish them very easily. Therefore, the surrounding environment unfolded in his mind. It was like a painting outlined with a white pen on a pitch-black canvas. As Jean continued to make sounds and receive ultrasound waves, the canvas in his mind expanded rapidly. 200 meters, 500 meters, 800 meters, the things in the canvas also became clearer from blurry. A sense of control spontaneously arose. Along with it came a sense of security. I know everything about this place. I can sense all kinds of changes happening here. I know everything within 800 meters. Jean's head was jumping with joy. Although he had used the lizard's eyes, thermal imaging's visual range was much smaller than hearing. Jean had been counting the time in his mind. Now that there were more people in the team, he could not go out alone for too long. After collecting his emotions, he returned to his previous place, changed back into his human form, and put on his clothes. He followed the original path back to the camp. "Lord Jean, you're back." The guard saluted him one after another. Jean encouraged them and returned to his tent. He lay on the bed, but could not fall asleep for a long time. The crooked flight was, of course, exciting. The experience of hearing ultrasound was also very wonderful. All of this left him with endless aftertaste. When he returned to his human form, he could only walk on the ground with his feet. He could not hear any more wonderful sounds, let alone use his hearing to detect things within 1,000 meters. It was like a flying bird suddenly having its wings stripped off, or a normal person suddenly becoming blind. A faint sense of loss, like ripples in a lake in his heart, involuntarily rippled in Jean's heart. He only used 2 axes. The former members of the mercenary group were all amazed and looked at Zhonggu with admiration. Zhonggu smiled faintly. He stepped on the fallen tree trunk and quietly watched Jean walk towards him. At this moment, because he was cutting wood, the armor on his upper body had been removed, but his lower body was still covered in armor. His chest was injured, and there were bandages wrapped tightly around his chest and back. Even so, Zhongji's strong chest muscles were hard to hide. Because of the intense work, the muscles on his upper body were even stronger. Coupled with his heavy breathing, sweat, and some of his brown hair, he looked even more valiant and brave. Jean came in front of Zhonggu. The young knight had not yet grown up, and his height only reached Zhongji's chest. And compared to Zhongji's strong body, Jean's body looked thin. "You want to try too?" Zhonggu handed the axe in his hand to Jean. Jean smiled and shook his head. "I came here to give you medicine." He handed a bag in his hand to Zhonggu. "This is a new medicine that ZD urgently concocted last night. It can speed up the recovery of the wound." Jean said. Zhongji's eyes narrowed slightly, and he put down the axe and took Jean's bag. "Thank you," he said lightly. "We are all victims, and we are all reduced to this island. We should help each other as much as possible." Jinjin's tone was very sincere. By the way, I wonder if you have any bear meat? ZD said that the medicine made from bear meat and blood might be more effective. I can use my lizard meat to exchange for a corresponding amount of bear meat. No need to exchange, I'll give it all to you, Zhonggu said generously. Okay. Zhen Jin's smile became more sincere. Then I'll take my leave first. He had just taken a few steps when he suddenly saw a flock of birds flying from the forest in the distance. The birds flew into the sky, crying anxiously. The lumberjacks all stopped what they were doing and looked at the flock of birds with concern. Very quickly, they could faintly hear some noisy cries. The cries became more and more obvious, and everyone was very familiar with the source of the sound. It's the bat monkeys. Quick, prepare for battle. Everyone shouted. Help me put on my armor, Zhonggu said in a low voice. Yes, sir. Someone immediately took out the armor for his upper body and helped him put it on. Zhen Jin quickened his footsteps and returned to the shipwright and blockhead side. Don't panic. This time it's not just me. There's also Zhonggu and the others. If we work together, we will definitely be able to win, just like the previous battle. Under Zhen Jin's encouragement, everyone's gaze became more determined. The bat monkey's attack came again, but before they left, everyone was mentally prepared, so after a bit of panic, they all calmed down. Zhongji's group, Zhen Jin's group. The two groups quickly got into formation and waited for the bat monkeys to arrive. At this time, the bat monkeys' cries could be heard from the left and right of everyone. Are we surrounded? How many bat monkeys are there? Everyone couldn't help but become restless. The beast horde's attack this time was much more powerful than the previous two battles. The forest blocked everyone's vision, so they couldn't tell which direction had the most bat monkeys and which had the strongest attack. The original formation focused most of their strength on the front, while the sides and rear were weaker. I can use ultrasound to find out the exact number and the exact location of their main force. This idea flashed through Zhen Jin's mind, but he quickly rejected it. If he wanted to find out, he had to change. If he wanted to use ultrasound, his throat and nose would have to change. If he wanted to use ultrasound, his ears would also have to change. This would be too easy for others to find out. Stabilize the formation, Zhen Jin reminded loudly. It was too late to adjust the formation, so they could only brace themselves and fight. Soon, a large number of bat monkeys appeared from the front, left, and right, pouncing towards Zhen Jin's group. The shipwright, Hei Wan, and the others all picked up their crossbows, and Zhen Jin also picked up his crossbow. Arrows flew out, causing the bat monkeys to scream nonstop, and their corpses fell to the ground. Zhen Jin quickly emptied his quiver of arrows. His results were remarkable, as he alone took care of more than 20 normal bat monkeys. He lowered his crossbow, took out the empty quiver, and took out a full quiver from his waist and loaded it again. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Following his continuous pulling of the trigger, the short arrows flew through the air, killing the bat monkeys one by one. The bat monkeys in front of Zhen Jin actually stopped their attack temporarily because of his shooting. Zhen Jin quickly emptied his second quiver and began to help his comrades on the side. Under the cover of Zhen Jin's firepower, the two sides quickly stabilized. Seeing that Zhen Jin did not miss, the crew's morale was greatly boosted. After Zhen Jin replaced his third quiver, the bat monkeys were defeated. Zhen Jin did not slack off and immediately brought a group of people to support Zhonggu. Zhonggu and the others were still fighting. The number of bat monkeys they encountered was about the same as Zhen Jin's, but Zhongji's close combat made it so that even though they had the upper hand, their killing efficiency was lower. With the support of Zhen Jin's arrows, this batch of bat monkeys was quickly defeated. The battle was over. Everyone cheered. Zhonggu and Zhen Jin met, both of them looking worried. Although the bat monkeys this time were powerful, there were very few bronze rank bat monkeys and only 2 black iron rank ones, and they both escaped. That silver rhinoceros also did not appear. Just as the two of them were discussing, a pink signal flare suddenly appeared in the air. It's the camp. They are under attack. Let's go support them. Zhen Jin and Zhonggu looked at each other. and without any hesitation, they joined forces and quickly went back to the camp. All the wounded were taken care of in the camp, and ZD and Song Su were also in the camp. If the camp was attacked, the losses would be unimaginable. Fortunately, the logging site was not far from the camp, and everyone quickly returned to the camp. In the camp, the silver rhinoceros was wreaking havoc. The central wooden house that had just been repaired was completely destroyed by the rhinoceros. However, there were not many casualties in the camp. This was because the camp was surrounded by thick smoke. This was the medicine that ZD had concocted, and when burned in a bonfire or a torch, it would form thick smoke. The thick smoke was targeted at the bat monkeys, stimulating their sense of smell. The bat monkeys flew outside the thick smoke, not daring to enter. Although the silver rhinoceros was not afraid of the thick smoke, its charging path was too straight, and it was not difficult to dodge. There were many buildings in the camp, and while blocking the silver rhinoceros, it gave the people enough time to escape. I will deal with these bat monkeys. Zongu, please go and kill that rhinoceros. Zhenjin shouted. Zonga nodded. He was not happy to listen to Zhenjin's orders, but Zhenjin's arrangement was the most reasonable at the moment. Now that the situation was urgent, Zongu did not argue with Zhenjin too much. There were not many bat monkeys circling in the sky, but they were clearly elites. The number of bronze bat monkeys and black steel bat monkeys was considerable. Zhenjin led his men into the thick smoke and then used his crossbow to shoot. The thick smoke greatly interfered with everyone's vision, but fortunately, the bat monkeys were afraid of the smell of the smoke and did not dare to charge in. Sacrificing accuracy in exchange for everyone's safety was more advantageous than disadvantageous. Only Zhenjin's arrows were still sharp. This was because he narrowed his eyes and his left eye mutated into a lizard's eye. With the help of thermal vision, the thick smoke was almost non-existent. The bat monkeys did not dare to charge into the thick smoke and could only become targets. My current bat monkey transformation can only transform into bronze bat monkeys. This is too weak. This time, I will kill a few black steel bats to strengthen this transformation. Zhenjin thought. Chapter 102. Zhenjin aimed at his target and threw out a dart. The dart was thrown with all his strength by his bare arms, and it was extremely powerful, threatening the lives of the black steel bat monkeys. The black steel bat monkeys were flying the highest point in the sky, and they were much more agile than the bronze bat monkeys. Zhenjin tried a few times, but he failed every time. He had an idea. He fired the crossbow in his left hand first, and then threw the dart with his right hand. The black steel bat monkeys had to dodge the crossbow bolts, and their positions were restricted. When the dart came, the black steel bat monkeys couldn't dodge in time, or there was limited space to dodge, so they were often hit. Zhenjin tried again and again, and he succeeded and failed. After he successfully killed the 3 black steel bat monkeys, he suddenly heard a strange cry. The remaining black steel bat monkeys immediately screamed and led the few remaining bat monkeys to retreat. Zhenjin wasn't in a hurry to chase after them. He immediately went back into the camp to help Zongu. After running a few steps, he saw Zongu walking over with a completely deformed longsword in his hand. This rhinoceros has thick skin, but it still got away, Zongu said regretfully. If you had used the short spears on your back, it wouldn't have happened, right? Zhenjin said. But that wasn't the main point. Zhenjin looked around and saw that ZD, Song Su, and the others were safe. He said to Zongu, I just heard a strange cry. I suspect that it was the mastermind. Oh, Zongji's eyes flashed. Zhenjin's expression was serious. The mastermind is not simple. Not only can he mobilize the bat monkeys and the silver rhinoceros, but he also has good tactical skills. He split his troops into 2 groups. One group is to restrain us, while the other is to attack the camp. He knows that the camp is our weakest point and also our most important place. That's right. We must get rid of him. Zonga nodded. Then let's go. It's just the 2 of us. The others are just burdens. Zhenjin took the lead and started walking. Zhong threw away the broken sword in his hand and followed closely behind. "My lord," Sandao shouted from the side. He wanted to say something, but hesitated. He was worried that this might be Zhang Jin's scheme, which might be detrimental to Zhong. Zhong, on the other hand, was full of courage. He knew the meaning of Sandao's warning. He nodded at him and said, "I'll be back soon. Clean up the battlefield." With this pause, Zhang Jin had already walked far away. Zhong sprinted and soon caught up with Zhang Jin at the entrance of the camp. After the strange noise was made, the bat monkeys immediately retreated. "It's in this direction." After Zhang Jin explained, he started running. "What kind of strange noise was it? Can you describe it?" Zhong asked. He ran faster and faster, and when he opened his mouth, wind would enter his mouth. Zhang Jin frowned slightly and considered his words. It sounded like a dog barking. As he spoke, he jumped lightly and jumped over a thick tree root that protruded from the ground. After a dozen breaths, the two of them reached their maximum speed. The wind whistled in their ears as they sprinted. It was as if the trees were about to crash into them, but they were quickly thrown behind them. Zhang Jin did not hear the strange noise from before, but what gave him confidence was that he found traces of the bat monkeys retreating along the way. They could also faintly hear the bat monkeys' cries. The longer they chased, the more surprised Zhong became about Zhang Jin. "Although I'm injured, I have the blood of the beast men. Zhang Jin can run as fast as me based on his physical fitness. He also has a long endurance and shows no signs of fatigue. The blood of the House of 100 Needles is only outstanding in terms of accuracy. I'm afraid this kid is a genius. His true fighting spirit is definitely not weak." After running for a while, the two of them still did not see the shadow of the mastermind behind the beasts. "We can't hear the bat monkeys' cries anymore. Can we climb a tree?" Zhong asked anxiously. "Yes." Zhang Jin nodded and climbed up a large tree. Most importantly, he did not slow down at all during the whole process. Zhong witnessed the whole process of Zhang Jin climbing the tree. The latter jumped from the ground to the top of the tree in a few moves. His movements were extremely smooth. What surprised Zhong even more was that he felt that when Zhang Jin climbed the tree, he used both his hands and feet. It was filled with a natural charm, like moving clouds and flowing water. Could it be that the Knights Templar have added tree climbing training? Puzzled, Zhong quickly climbed to the top of a large tree. Standing on top of the towering tree, the two of them had a wide field of vision. The forest was different from the rainforest. Although the trees here were lush, the branches and leaves were not as dense as in the rainforest. The two of them kept jumping from branch to branch. Zhong was more and more surprised. When Zhang Jin jumped, he was full of wildness. Zhong secretly observed for a while and found that his four limbs were abnormally coordinated. The way he jumped seemed to be more effortless than his own. How did he train? This is not the style of the Knights Templar. Could it be that the House of 100 Needles hired a warrior from the Empire's east to teach Zhang Jin some kind of elephant-shaped combat technique? Zhong could not help but guess. "Zhang Jin, it seems that we can't catch up." After a moment, Zhong sighed helplessly. When he first climbed the tree, he could still see the bat monkeys retreating in the distance. But now he could only see thick green, layers upon layers of branches and leaves. The cries of the bat monkeys could not be heard. "No, let's persevere for a while. You chase from behind, and I will go up this mountain. If we directly go over this mountain, we might be able to cut off their path," Zhang Jin suggested. According to the bat monkeys' tracks, they were going around the foot of the mountain. Zhang Jin and Zhong still had a chance. It was not completely hopeless. Zhong thought for a while and nodded in agreement with Zhang Jin's plan. The two of them separated. Zhang Jin climbed to the top of the small mountain. After checking the surroundings, he did not find Zhong following him. He immediately took off his clothes and turned into the bronze bat monkey. Zhang Jin clenched his teeth and secretly encouraged himself. Although he had only practiced for one night, but in the current situation, he could only force a duck onto a perch. After Zhang Jin turned into the bronze bat monkey, his speed was at least twice as fast as before. The bat monkey's body structure was very suitable for jumping on branches. When he encountered steep cliffs or other mountainous terrain, Junjin directly spread his wings and glided down. His route was very straight. It was too convenient. Right, I can also send out ultrasonic waves to investigate. While gliding, Junjin thought of this method. He immediately tried to send out ultrasonic waves. Bang! In the next moment, he crashed into a tree trunk and fell down. After breaking several branches, he was finally stopped by a thick branch that blocked his crotch. Oh! A sharp pain came, and Junjin subconsciously let out a scream. His legs were spread apart as he rode on the branch. His body could not help but curl up from the pain. He grabbed onto the branch and used his forearms to support his body so that his crotch could be slightly separated from the branch. After sucking in a few breaths of cold air, Junjin recovered. So, the crotch is still the bat monkey's weakness. The young knight had a deep impression of this discovery. What's wrong with me? I actually thought of sending out ultrasonic waves while flying? Junjin felt a wave of regret. He had only practiced for one night, no, half a night. He could not send out ultrasonic waves while flying or running. Currently, he could only send out ultrasonic waves when he was still. Let's investigate first. Junjin was not in a hurry to run. His crotch still hurt a little. He still needed to take a break. Taking advantage of this time, he tried a few more times and quickly sent out ultrasonic waves. The canvas in his heart slowly unfolded and quickly expanded. 100 meters, 400 meters, 800 meters. After 1,000 meters, Junjin's face lit up. He had successfully caught the tail of the fleeing bat monkeys. My luck is here. This group of bat monkeys really went around the mountain. Following this direction, I can intercept them. Junjin once again jumped forward in the forest, sometimes using his bat wings to glide. After running for a distance, Junjin stopped again and wanted to send out ultrasonic waves. This time, he only tried twice and successfully sent out an ultrasonic wave. Just as he was about to try again, 3 bat monkeys jumped to his side. Junjin's scalp tightened, and he almost made a move. That was because he saw that 2 of the 3 bat monkeys were injured. It was obvious that they were the ones who had fought with him earlier. However, the 3 bat monkeys didn't attack. Instead, they stopped in front of Junjin, shouted at him, and waved at him. Junjin was stunned. That's right, I'm a bat monkey now. The 3 bat monkeys shouted for a while, but when they realized that Junjin was a little silly, they became impatient. Their cries grew louder, and their movements increased as well. Junjin guessed, what do they want? They seem to be communicating with me? The 3 bat monkeys realized that Junjin was not just a little silly, but very silly. One of the bat monkeys jumped to Junjin's side and pushed his back. Junjin resisted the urge to make a move. When he saw the other 2 bat monkeys jump away, they turned around and waved at him, as if they were leading the way. Where do they want to take me? Junjin suddenly realized. Seeing that he wasn't moving, the bat monkey behind him shouted again, as if urging him to move. Junjin's mind quickly churned. He simply moved and ran with the 3 bat monkeys. After jumping and flying, Junjin saw more and more bat monkeys. Finally, he was carried by the bat monkeys and arrived at a clearing in the forest. A large number of bat monkeys were gathered here. In addition, there was also the silver rhinoceros. Some of the bat monkeys were sitting on branches, some were climbing trees, some were jumping and rolling on the ground, and some were flying in the air and landing on branches, quickly bending the slender branches. Just as the branches couldn't bear the weight of the bat monkeys and were about to be crushed, the bat monkeys spread their wings and flew away. Some of the bat monkeys were seriously injured, but there were bat monkeys taking care of them. The bat monkeys in charge of taking care of them put their heads close to their companions' wounds and took a deep breath. Their chests visibly puffed up. Then, the bat monkeys gritted their teeth and blocked one of their nostrils, using their other nostrils to point at the wound. What are they doing? Blowing their noses? Junjin saw this scene and was puzzled. The next moment, the bat monkey's chest calmed down. Most of the ultrasonic waves they emitted were transmitted from their nostrils. Under the influence of the ultrasonic waves, the bloody wound seemed to be heated up. The surface of the wound quickly became charred, and the smell of burnt meat wafted out. However, doing this was also very harmful to the nasal passages. Soon, the bat monkeys who were treating their companions all had blood flowing out of their nostrils. They can actually use ultrasonic waves to heal. Jinjin was very surprised. Then he saw some bat monkeys standing on the ground and emitting ultrasonic waves towards the ground. After emitting for a while, these bat monkeys quickly jumped and came to a certain spot. They used their claws to dig the ground and dug out a lot of soil. From the mud, they grabbed a white worm. This white worm looked like an earthworm, but it was fatter than an earthworm. The white earthworms were delivered to the mouths of the bat monkeys' most seriously injured companions. As the bat monkeys chewed, these white earthworms were bitten to death. A rich juice burst out, as white as milk. Jinjin even smelled a rich, milky fragrance. These white earthworms seemed to be very nutritious. Did the bat monkeys use them as nourishment? The bat monkeys can actually find the white earthworms deep in the soil. So, they used ultrasonic waves to investigate before. That level of ultrasonic waves can detect things in the soil. Jinjin's surprise increased. He had just arrived here, and in less than 10 breaths of time, he had already learned a lot of things. They stopped here to rest. Previously, the 3 bat monkeys seemed to have thought that I was a straggler. Then, who was the mastermind behind this? Jinjin accidentally broke into the enemy's group. He did not forget the key point and looked around. The next moment, a figure stepped into the open space in the forest. Jinjin's pupils suddenly shrank. He was shocked. Chapter 103. It was a silver-ranked magical beast. It had dark blue fur and a wolf-like appearance. Jinjin had a deep impression of it. This was because the first thing he saw when he woke up in the forest was this silver-ranked magical beast. He and ZD had named it Blue Wolf. The Blue Wolf had almost taken ZD's life. Jinjin had only been able to defeat it by chance with the help of external forces. Jinjin did not expect to find a second Blue Wolf here. Woof, woof, woof. The blue-furred wolf walked to the center of the clearing and suddenly opened its mouth to make a sound that resembled a dog's bark. Jinjin was stunned. So the sound I heard before was made by the blue wolf? Isn't it a wolf? Hearing the barking, the surrounding bat monkeys all gathered around the blue wolf. It's really controlling the herd. Jin's head shook. Most of the bat monkeys landed on the ground and squatted around the blue wolf, forming a circle. But there was still a small number of bat monkeys that stayed where they were and did not plan to gather. The bat monkeys that landed on the ground called out to their unmoving companions. They continuously screamed and waved their hands. The unmoving bat monkeys began to waver. Some of them also barked and communicated with each other. There were also some that jumped between the branches. Some spread their wings in the air and flew or glided between the trees. It seemed like they were about to leave. When a silver-ranked rhino heard the barking, it also wandered around the clearing. However, it did not attack the bat monkeys or the blue wolf. The blue wolf raised its head and stuck out its chest. It began to wag its tail and emit a strong fragrance. The fragrance quickly spread throughout the clearing. The restless bat monkeys gradually calmed down. The bat monkeys near the wolf breathed in deeply, absorbing the strong fragrance in the air. Their faces revealed intoxicated expressions. As for the bat monkeys that hadn't gathered together, after smelling this fragrance, they were no longer restless and uneasy. They retracted their wings and stayed on the branches to absorb the fragrance. Woof, woof, woof. After a few breaths, the blue wolf barked again. This time, the bat monkeys that were squatting on the branches climbed down one after another and gathered around the blue-furred wolf, lining up behind the bat monkeys from before. The silver-ranked rhino also quieted down. It stood on the spot and looked at the blue wolf quietly, as if it was waiting for its next command. Jinjin saw this scene and could not help but be shocked. Is this how the blue-haired wolf controls the bat monkey and the silver rhinoceros? Woof, woof, woof. The blue wolf barked again. At the same time, it looked at Jin. Well, I'm the only one. Needle Gold looked around and suddenly found that he was the only one left on the branch. The blue wolf looked at Woof, 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 Woof. It wagged its tail again, and the fragrance in the air became stronger. The surrounding bat monkeys and the silver-ranked rhino took deep breaths, enjoying the fragrance. It does smell good, but it has no effect on me. Jin put down his worries. The blue wolf barked a few more times. It looked at Jin, who was still unmoved and could not help but be suspicious. Jin's gaze swept over a squirrel and a few woodpeckers nearby. They were also not affected. I understand. Only man-made magical beasts are affected by the fragrance and cries. I'm human, so I won't be affected. If the blue wolf could control humans, it would have done so long ago. But in fact, ZD and I have never seen our companions being controlled. Jin thought of this and glided down to the ground. He mimicked the other bat monkeys and inhaled the fragrance in the air, looking intoxicated. But the blue wolf did not let go of its suspicions. It took the initiative to walk out of the central point, and after walking past many bat monkeys, it came to Jin. Jin was only a step away from it. I'm just a bronze bat monkey. If I'm bitten by it, I'll be seriously injured. If it suddenly bites me and doesn't let go, and let the other bat monkeys attack me, I'll be in danger. If I'm not careful, I'll lose my life. Jin naturally felt nervous. Although he had killed a blue wolf before, he knew how powerful this silver-ranked magical beast was. The blue wolf carefully observed Jin, then circled Jin, not letting go of any detail on Jin's body, including Jin's swollen lower body. The suspicion in its eyes gradually disappeared, because what was in front of it was a bat monkey. Woof, 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 the blue wolf called out to Jin. Jin's mind was full of question marks. He didn't know how to react, so he wisely stood still. Seeing the blue wolf so close, Jin had a thought that became stronger and stronger. If I attack now, can I kill this wolf? The blue wolf could control hundreds of beasts, and it had outstanding intelligence that was almost comparable to a human's. The combination of the two produced a qualitative change. Previously, it had controlled the beast horde to split into two groups. One group was to contain Jin, Zhonggu, and the others, while the other group was focused on attacking the camp. It knew to attack the enemy's weak points. Generally speaking, bat monkeys and silver rhinoceroses could not coexist. But now, because of the existence of the blue-furred wolf, they stayed in the open space in the forest and did not invade each other. During battle, the silver rhinoceroses were in charge of attacking, while the bat monkeys were in charge of killing enemies. The two could even cooperate. The blue wolf could make different beasts cooperate and form a monster army that could use tactics. This was too scary. I have to get rid of this wolf. Jin's killing intent grew stronger. But at the same time, he saw that the bat monkeys and silver rhinoceroses were all staring at him. If he suddenly attacked now, he would definitely attract the attention of these ferocious beasts. At this moment, the blue wolf suddenly lowered its head and stopped circling Jin. Instead, it took a step forward and used its nose to sniff Jin's scent. Its nose was almost touching Jin's monkey fur. Looking at its exposed neck in front of him, Jin smelled an even stronger aroma, and the killing intent in his heart also intensified. I'm just a bronze bat monkey now, so the blue wolf is very careless. It thinks I'm not a threat, so it doesn't guard against me. Of course, I'm no match for it in my current state, but I have the demon core in my heart. If I suddenly attack now, grab the blue wolf, and activate the demon core, what will happen? As long as he touched the target, the demon core would activate. Jin had once used this method to directly refine a silver spear scorpion. Forget it. It's too risky for me to attack like this. Once the demon core activates, it will take some time for it to take effect. Although this time is very short, it's enough for the blue wolf to tear me apart. I have to wait for the Zhonggu to appear and cause chaos in this beast horde. When the blue wolf's attention is focused on the Zongo, then I'll have the chance to take advantage of the chaos and launch a sneak attack. Or should I leave this place and turn into a silver spear scorpion? The scorpion shell's defense is outstanding. It can charge into the beast horde and directly attack the blue wolf. No, the blue wolf is also a silver rank, so I won't be able to kill it quickly. There's also a silver rhinoceros here, and it's about to charge and trample me. The silver spear scorpion won't be able to deal with it easily. There's also the bat monkey. Once the bat monkey uses a sound wave attack, the spear scorpion form won't be able to block it. Zhenjin knew that the spear scorpion's hearing was also very sensitive. Under a sound wave attack, sensitive hearing was no longer an advantage, but a weakness. If that's the case, I'll turn into a spear scorpion first. I'll deliberately let the blue wolf tame it, and when I get close to the blue wolf, I'll stab it with my spear. This way, the bat monkey's sound wave and the rhinoceros charge won't be able to be used because I'm entangled with the wolf. My scorpion shell can block the wolf's claws and fangs. With just the spear scorpion, I won't be able to quickly kill a silver rank wolf, but I can use the core to get rid of it. Zhenjin secretly made up his mind. The blue wolf finally lost interest in Zhenjin. It seemed to be sure that this was just a bronze bat monkey. The reason why it was acting strangely was because it was rather stupid. The blue wolf turned around and slowly left Zhenjin. Looking at its back, Zhenjin slightly changed his mind. No, I shouldn't be in a hurry to get rid of it. The current wolf and this group of beasts are no threat to the camp. I should try my best to collect more information. After discovering the second blue wolf, there would naturally be a third and a fourth. After experiencing so many life and death situations on this island, Zhenjin would always consider the future before doing anything and consider the worst-case scenario. If he didn't take the opportunity to collect information and increase his chances of defeating the enemy, what would he do if he encountered the blue wolf in the future? The fragrance emitted by the blue wolf is the key to taming the beasts. At the same time, the effect of this fragrance should have a time limit. The most important thing now is to find out what the time limit is. At the same time, I have to find out if all man-made beasts are affected by the fragrance. Zhenjin wasn't in a hurry to leave. He chose to stay for the time being. In addition to collecting information, there was another reason, and that was to zone Ge. Zhenjin's plan to use the spear scorpion form to kill the wolf was easily disrupted by the outside world. But if he used zone Ge well, Zhenjin could kill the wolf with less effort. Zhenjin decided to wait for zone Ge. Woof, woof, woof. The blue wolf walked to the center and barked again. Then it took the lead to leave the clearing in the forest. The group of bat monkeys and the silver rhinoceros set off one after another, closely following the blue wolf. Zhenjin mixed in with a large group of bat monkeys, following the surrounding bat monkeys, sometimes jumping on branches, sometimes landing on the ground and running, sometimes opening their wings to fly in the air. The blue wolf walked at the front, its fluffy tail swaying from side to side. Zhenjin observed this detail and thought, the wolf's tail hangs down and doesn't sway. This isn't a wolf's tail, but more like a fox's tail. But it can also bark like a dog. Calling it blue wolf isn't quite appropriate. Or should I call it a fox-wolf dog? Wolf dog fox? Fox dog wolf? The blue wolf led the group of beasts away from the hill, and its speed became faster and faster. Why isn't Zongu here yet? Zhenjin began to worry that Zongu would lose him because he was getting further and further away from the hill. Zhenjin waited for a while, but he still didn't see Zongji's figure. He began to get impatient. Should I just not wait for him and directly transform into a spear scorpion to carry out the plan of luring him into hiding and beheading him? Chapter 104. Just as Zhenjin was hesitating on whether or not to start his plan, a wave of bat monkeys screeched from the forest in front of him. Zhenjin's head twitched as he realized, so we've encountered a new group of bat monkeys. Woof, woof, woof. Blue dog fox wolf barked a few times. Half of the bat monkeys beside Zhenjin flew out, their figures quickly disappearing into the forest. After a while, these bat monkeys flew back with even more new bat monkeys. Just like before, when Jinjin was pulled into the army by 3 bat monkeys. Only this time, there were more bat monkeys, more than 20 of them. The bat monkeys landed beside Blue Dog Fox Wolf, who began to wag his tail, emitting a strong fragrance. Influenced by the fragrance, Blue Dog Fox Wolf's magical beast army immediately gained more than 20 new members. Woof, woof, woof. Blue Dog Fox Wolf gave another order. The new members all flew out and returned to their own groups. A moment later, they returned, bringing with them more than 40 other bat monkeys. It was obvious that the persuasion of these familiar faces was much more effective than the first batch of bat monkeys. Blue Dog Fox Wolf did the same and subdued these bat monkeys. Next, it directly led the army to attack. More than half of the bat monkeys living in the forest in front of it had already surrendered to it, leaving only a dozen bat monkeys, including the leader of the black steel bat monkeys, under the assault of Blue Dog Fox Wolf's fragrance. None of these bat monkeys could escape, and all of them became Jin's new comrades. This efficiency is too high. Jin saw this scene and could not help but feel a chill in his heart. The number of man-made magical beasts on the island was uncountable, which meant that Blue Dog Fox Wolf could replenish its forces everywhere, and there were sources of soldiers everywhere. Just this harvest alone was enough to make up for 30% of the losses in the attack on the camp. The magical beast army continued to advance under the leadership of Blue Dog Fox Wolf. There were a large number of bat monkeys living in this part of the forest, and the scale of these wild beasts was the largest. In one morning, the Blue Dog Fox Wolf encountered 3 groups of bat monkeys. With its efforts, the team gained 5 new black steel bat monkey leaders, a dozen bronze bat monkeys, and a large number of normal bat monkeys. Basically, everything had been restored to its original state. At noon, they encountered another group of flying squirrels. The magical beast army entered the pterosaur swarm's territory and was immediately attacked by the pterosaurs. Jin was no stranger to this flying squirrel. Back then, he was the one who ordered the exploration team to cut wood to make bows and set up a battlefield to lure and kill a group of flying squirrels, helping the exploration team to solve their food shortage problem. Now, the Blue Dog Fox Wolf encountered an even larger group of flying squirrels. There were 3 iron-level flying squirrel leaders and 1 silver-level flying squirrel leader. Flying squirrels can release electricity. In a real close combat, the bat monkeys will suffer great losses. Jin was secretly delighted. He was familiar with these 2 types of magical beasts, and thus could estimate the battle strength of the 2 groups. Unlike the bat monkeys, the magical beast army did not have flying squirrels, so there was no peaceful recruitment before the battle. The Blue Dog Fox Wolf suffered great losses, which was very beneficial to the people in the camp. But in the next moment, the Blue Dog Fox Wolf let out a woof-woof cry. The black steel bat monkey leaders in the bat monkey group all flew into the air. After taking a deep breath, they released a sound wave attack together. The ear-piercing sound caused translucent ripples to appear in the air. The group of flying squirrels was about to reach the Blue Dog Fox Wolf when they were immediately engulfed by the sound wave. The entire group of flying squirrels collapsed. Most of the normal flying squirrels were killed by the sound wave. The bronze flying squirrels let out shrill cries, and the black steel flying squirrels were also struggling. Only the silver-level flying squirrel leader staggered and continued to charge forward. Flying squirrels had weak vision, but they had excellent hearing. This advantage became the key to turning the tide of the battle under the influence of the sound wave. Woof woof. The Blue Dog Fox Wolf gave another order, and the silver-level rhinoceros beside it immediately charged forward. The silver-level flying squirrel leader hurriedly dodged, but many of the flying squirrels behind it were unfortunately trampled by the rhinoceros and died on the spot. One of the black steel flying squirrels that died was the silver-level flying squirrel leader. The Blue Dog Fox Wolf took the opportunity to wag its tail, and its fragrance quickly enveloped the battlefield. The flying squirrel's resistance weakened rapidly, but the silver-level flying squirrel was still resisting. It hung on the silver-level rhinoceros body and bit down hard on the rhinoceros' right hind leg, causing a burst of intense electric light. The silver-level rhinoceros let out a short and high-pitched cry. Its body convulsed violently, and it fell to the ground with a loud bang. It fainted, and wisps of white smoke came out of its open mouth and nostrils. The insides of its body had been charred in an instant. Good. This silver-level rhinoceros is going to die. Jinjin was overjoyed when he saw this. But at that moment, the blue dog fox wolf suddenly made a move. It had been standing in the same spot since the beginning of the battle between the two beasts. It had not moved an inch. Now that it suddenly moved, it was even faster than an arrow released from a bow. It was Jinjin's first time seeing the blue dog fox wolf charge at full speed. It easily covered a distance of more than 100 meters in a few breaths' time. It came to the silver-level rhinoceros side and viciously clawed at the silver-level flying squirrel. The silver-level flying squirrel was sent flying, and it fell to the ground and rolled for a long distance. The blue dog fox wolf took advantage of the situation and pounced forward, opening its mouth to bite. The silver-level flying squirrel seemed to have exhausted too much energy from electrocuting the rhinoceros and was in a weakened state. It was unable to retaliate in time, let alone discharge electricity. Just like that, the blue dog fox wolf exerted force with its jaws, and its sharp fangs instantly pierced the silver-level flying squirrel into pieces. The silver-level flying squirrel screamed, and its life force dropped to 0. It had been bitten to death by the blue dog fox wolf. Doesn't it want to subdue this silver-level flying squirrel leader? Jinjin was puzzled. At the same time, the youth was secretly delighted. This time, the blue dogs, fox, and wolf lost a silver rhinoceros and only managed to recruit 2 black iron flying squirrels. As for the other bronze-ranked flying squirrels and normal flying squirrels, very few survived. It suffered a great loss. The flying squirrels that were still alive submitted to the blue dog fox wolf. The two sides that had just met on the battlefield and fought to the death were now obediently submitting to the blue dog fox wolf. They coexisted peacefully, as if it had always been like this since ancient times. As long as they were subdued by the blue dog fox wolf, different species could coexist peacefully. This was rather terrifying. What's even more terrifying is that the blue dog fox wolf can directly control the black-level flying squirrels to release a sound wave attack. Why didn't it use this move when it attacked the camp? Was it afraid that we would discover it when it was giving orders on the spot, and it would be attacked and beheaded? Jinjin guessed. Once again, he felt his heart palpitate at the blue dog fox wolf's intelligence. Whether it was Zhonggu or Jinjin himself, once they discovered the existence of the blue dog fox wolf, they would definitely charge forward and kill the most important existence. The blue dog fox wolf clearly knew this, so it had always hidden itself very well. Think about it carefully. According to the time, the first opponent that the blue dog fox wolf led the magical beast army was Zhonggu and the Sandow's group. Jinjin recalled the entire process. Zhonggu chased away the silver rhinoceros, and the Sandow's group's powerful combat strength might have caused the blue dog fox wolf to misjudge. Because they were all humans, it was very likely that it didn't notice the division and conflict between Zhonggu and Shisua's group. So, when it attacked the camp, it didn't show itself. Instead, it commanded from afar and didn't display the true strength of the entire magical beast army. Perhaps it had the idea to show itself and participate in the battle, but by then, I had already appeared, and my darts could threaten the black-level flying squirrels. When the blue dog fox wolf saw this situation, it took the initiative to order a retreat. So, the silver rhinoceros only charged forward for a while before retreating. Maybe it was because it was too far away, or maybe I didn't pay attention, but I didn't hear the blue dog fox wolf's cry. After that, the blue dog fox wolf went to hunt down the shipwright, Shisua, and the big guy, but it was defeated by me and Zhonggu. Today, during the logging, the blue dog fox wolf still took the initiative to attack the camp. In the end, it suffered heavy losses and was forced to leave to replenish its forces. In the previous few attacks, Zhang, Zhonggu, and the others didn't find any trace of the blue dog fox wolf. It wasn't until the attack this morning that Zhang heard a dog bark and caught a clue. Woof, woof, woof. Then, the blue dog fox wolf began to command the bat monkeys to clean up the battlefield. The bat monkeys gathered the corpses of the flying squirrels, and the flying squirrels that surrendered went into their nests and took out all the stored food to offer to the blue dog fox wolf. Soon, there was a pile of food in front of the blue dog fox wolf. The food was piled up beside the silver rhinoceros. The silver rhinoceros didn't move at all. Under the gazes of all the beasts, the blue dog fox wolf was the first to enjoy its lunch, the silver flying squirrel. Its sharp teeth easily tore open the flying squirrel's flesh and broke its bones. Soon, the silver flying squirrel was only left with a pile of bones. Most of its flesh, organs, and brain matter had fallen into the blue dog fox wolf's stomach. The blue dog fox wolf woof woof barked twice, and only then did the bat monkey start to move. They picked out food from the pile of food to eat. From this, Zhang discovered that the bat monkeys were actually omnivorous. This was because some of the bat monkeys started to chew on the flying squirrels, while others picked up the potatoes and nuts to eat. Zhang didn't want to appear too abnormal, so he followed the bat monkeys to the pile of food. He didn't want to eat the flying squirrels raw, so he chose a fruit. He had eaten this fruit before. After leading the exploration team to exterminate the flying squirrels, there were many such fruits in the flying squirrels' food reserves. After confirming that the fruit wasn't poisonous, Zhang discovered that this fruit was actually quite delicious. It was sweet and sour. However, his actions at this moment attracted the strange gazes of the bat monkeys around him. Zhang ate a mouthful of the fruit. Ah ba ba ba. His entire tongue instantly went numb. An intense bitterness attacked his heart from his tongue, almost making him vomit on the spot. Seeing Zhang's embarrassed state, the bat monkeys around him couldn't help but laugh and jump around. They were overjoyed. Some even pushed and shoved Zhang, looking at Zhang as if he was an idiot. It seems that this food is harmful to the bat monkeys. Otherwise, it would give them such a painful taste experience. Zhang didn't bother arguing with the beasts. He threw away the half of the fruit in his hand and looked at the large number of flying squirrel corpses in front of him. Zhang couldn't help but be tempted. Although the silver flying squirrels were eaten by the blue dog fox wolf, after these corpses are absorbed by the magic crystal in my heart, I could become a complete black iron flying squirrel. I wonder what it's like to discharge electricity. And this silver rhinoceros is about to die. Although it doesn't have any special abilities, it's still a silver magical beast. If I can absorb it, no matter what I can become, it'll be a form of enhancement. Ever since the silver rhinoceros was electrocuted and fell to the ground, it hadn't moved at all. The white smoke from its mouth and nose had stopped coming out, but its eyes were still rolling back. Its aura had dropped and was about to disappear completely. It's really going to die. Although Zhang was tempted, he didn't act rashly. Because after the blue dog fox wolf finished eating the flying squirrel leader, it lay down beside the silver rhinoceros, as if it was about to eat the rhinoceros next. But after that, the blue dog fox wolf didn't move at all. Time passed. The blue dog fox wolf lay quietly beside the silver rhinoceros, as if waiting for something. The other bat monkeys and flying squirrels didn't receive any other orders from the blue dog fox wolf, so they all gathered around it and didn't disperse. After about 10 minutes, the silver rhinoceros suddenly moved. Zhang thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him, but immediately he felt the silver rhinoceros's aura rapidly increase. It had been almost inaudible before, but soon its breathing became heavy again. Then, the silver rhinoceros's rolling eyes suddenly rolled back. Its huge body suddenly trembled, and then its limbs seemed to have strength. After a while, it miraculously stood up again. This silver rhinoceros's recovery ability is so strong. Zhang was quite shocked. The silver rhinoceros was clearly about to die. When it was electrocuted, its insides were probably burnt to a crisp. But just like that, it relied on its physical recovery ability to survive. It was alive again. The silver rhinoceroses standing made the bat monkeys and flying squirrels around it disperse. Before this, many of the bat monkeys and flying squirrels were already standing on the rhinoceros's body, treating it as if it were dead. Only the blue dog fox wolf slowly stood up, as if it wasn't surprised at all. Zhenjin came to a realization. So, this blue dog fox wolf didn't want to eat the rhinoceros, but was waiting for the rhinoceros to recover. This silver rhinoceros looks ordinary, but its recovery ability and vitality are too strong. Why don't I call it the strong white rhinoceros? If I can absorb it and have this level of self-recovery ability, wouldn't I no longer have to worry about getting injured? Chapter 105. Zhenjin realized the true strength of the strong white rhinoceros. While he was moved, he also felt a little heavy. If the strong white rhinoceros did not die, then the blue dog fox wolf would be able to eliminate the flying squirrel horde and recruit many flying squirrels. Why isn't Zongu here yet? I purposely left a lot of obvious traces along the way. Could he have met with an accident along the way? Zhenjin started to feel anxious. As time passed, the blue dog fox wolf's forces became stronger and stronger. The difficulty of Zhenjin's plan also increased. After the strong white rhinoceros came back to life, it almost buried its head in the pile of food. It ate a lot of food, eating all the fruits and leaves in the pile, leaving only meat. However, the strong white rhinoceros still felt that it was not enough and started to eat the grass on the ground. It seems that although its self-healing ability is strong, it also consumes a lot of its energy. Every time it recovers, it needs external nutrition. Woof, woof, woof. The blue dog fox wolf barked again. The bat monkeys and flying squirrels heard the order and scattered. They pulled out the grass or picked the fruits and gathered them by the strong white rhinoceros's mouth. In order to hide his identity, Zhenjin followed the crowd and did the same thing. It was the first time feeding a silver-ranked wild beast, so it was a new feeling. With the help of these wild beasts, the strong white rhinoceros did not need to move anymore. It just needed to stay in place, and there would be an endless supply of food sent to its mouth. After eating for a while, the strong white rhinoceros finally stopped eating. The blue dog fox wolf ordered the bat monkeys to grab the rest of the flying squirrels' corpses or pile them on the strong white rhinoceros's back. This blue dog fox wolf is actually storing food. The more Zhenjin observed, the more afraid he became of the blue dog fox wolf. The team set off again. Perhaps it was because the blue dog fox wolf had just had a full meal, but it knew that the fighting power of the herd was greatly reduced, so it deliberately slowed down. Along the way, they encountered 2 groups of bat monkeys and 1 group of flying squirrels. Most of them had merged into the group of blue dog fox wolf. In the evening, the magical beast army arrived in the vicinity of a hill. The current scale of the army was even larger than the one that had attacked the camp in the morning. We must kill this blue dog fox wolf. As long as it doesn't die, it can subdue many magical beasts and launch continuous attacks on us. Zhenjin's killing intent deepened. The hill was tall, and there was a cave at the foot of the hill. There were 3 monkey-tailed brown bears living in the cave. They were all silver-ranked magic beasts. The blue dog fox wolf stared at them. It hid in the grass and watched them for a long time. If blue dog fox wolf manages to tame these 3 brown monkey-tail bears, their strength will increase by a lot. Zhenjin was worried. But this is also an opportunity. After such a long time, Zhenjin no longer had any hope of Zongji's arrival. He decided to start the decapitation plan. Let blue dog fox wolf deal with the 3 bears first. Its strength will decrease. Then I will transform into a spear scorpion and lure it to surrender to me. If he didn't do this, Zhenjin would join the magical beast army as a silver-ranked spear scorpion. He was afraid that the blue dog fox-wolf would use him to deal with the three bears first. However, what Jinjin didn't expect was that the blue dog fox-wolf didn't directly deal with the three bears. It first used a small group of bat monkeys and flying squirrels to lure away the other two, leaving the youngest monkey-tail brown bear to lead the rest of the army to encircle and annihilate it. The strong white rhinoceros became the main force against the monkey-tail brown bear. The two silver-ranked magic beasts were the type with large bodies. When they fought with each other, there was a huge commotion. When the monkey-tail brown bear stood up, it was even bigger than the strong white rhinoceros. Its scorching hot claws could easily pierce through the strong white rhinoceros's skin. But the strong white rhinoceros was heavier. When it charged, the monkey-tail brown bear didn't dare to meet it head-on. It could only take the initiative to dodge. The two were evenly matched, but don't forget that there was still the blue dog fox-wolf controlling the bat monkeys and flying squirrels army. The bat monkeys and flying squirrels would rush up from time to help the strong white rhinoceros. They would harass or attack the monkey-tail brown bear. The monkey-tail brown bear killed a lot of bat monkeys and flying squirrels, but because of this, the strong white rhinoceros seized the opportunity to attack. It was at a disadvantage and had no hope of turning the tables, unless the two monkey-tail brown bears that were lured away came back in time. The blue dog fox-wolf commanded with its woof-woof while releasing its fragrance. Finally, after 6 of the bat monkeys and flying squirrels died, the monkey-tail brown bear was defeated. Its fighting spirit fell to its limit. It first turned around and ran, but after running a few steps, it slowly stopped and stayed in place. After a few breaths, it was completely attracted by the fragrance. It slowly turned around and came to the blue dog fox-wolf side. It laid on the ground and exposed its neck to the blue dog fox-wolf to express its submission. The magical beast army has become stronger again. Jinjin sighed. From the beginning to the end, the two monkey-tail brown bears didn't return. The difference between having intelligence and not having intelligence was too big. The blue dog fox-wolf had to deal with other man-made magical beasts. It was simply a one-dimensional blow. However, after that, the blue dog fox-wolf didn't continue to subdue the other two monkey-tail brown bears. Instead, it let the bat monkeys loot the cave and take out a lot of ores. Then, it led the team away and set up camp nearby to rest. This wolf is definitely a qualified general. It is very clear about the battle strength of the entire army. Jinjin followed the large army. The bat monkeys around him began to heal each other. They used ultrasound to sear the wounds and stop the bleeding. As for the strong white rhinoceros, it relied on its own recovery ability and blood. After a while, the bloody wounds on its body began to scab. After a while, the blood scabs on this rhinoceros will fall off. It's like time is speeding up. The limping monkey-tail brown bear that was just subdued started to eat the ores. It could quickly heal itself by eating large amounts of ores. Regarding this, Jinjin had a deep understanding of life and death. As for the blue dog fox-wolf, who had been the most dazzling, while the surrounding magical beasts were healing themselves, it quietly laid on the ground without moving. Its eyes were closed, and its breathing was weak. It seems very tired. Is it because of the frequent release of the fragrance, especially after subduing the second silver-ranked magical bear? Jinjin also noticed that the bat monkeys in the outermost circle were starting to regain some of their monkey nature. They became free and undisciplined and didn't seem to be as tight as before. This is the first batch of bat monkeys. It has been about 10 hours since they started absorbing the fragrance. In that case, the duration of the fragrance is less than 10 hours, because along the way, the blue dog fox-wolf repeatedly released the fragrance and subdued many groups of beasts. During this process, these bat monkeys are also constantly replenishing the fragrance they have absorbed. Jinjin spent almost a day following the large group and finally obtained the information he wanted. I can't wait any longer. Jinjin sneaked to the periphery, then looked for an opportunity and suddenly entered the forest. After putting some distance between himself and the magical beast army, Junjin changed his form and mutated into a green lizard. He spat out a ball of acid on the stone. The acid quickly corroded the stone, forming a hemispherical concave surface on the stone. Then, he turned into a spear scorpion and soaked the scorpion tail, spear head in the stone bowl. Junjin was trying to increase the thread of the scorpion tail as much as possible. The acid couldn't corrode the scorpion tail, but the acid couldn't stay on the spear tip for long. Junjin's attempt failed. Wait a minute, I still have another transformation. Junjin looked at his scorpion tail and suddenly had a flash of inspiration. He thought of green spot moss. He could transform into this highly poisonous plant. In the next moment, Junjin's magic crystal was rapidly depleted and a strange blood light flashed on the scorpion tail. After the blood-red light disappeared, the golden scorpion tail was covered with a layer of green moss. Success! Junjin was overjoyed. This was the first time he had tried this. In his spear scorpion form, Junjin began to run towards the magical beast army. Soon, the bat monkeys in the army let out warning cries. The blue dog fox wolf quickly opened its eyes and raised its head to listen to the cries of the bat monkeys. Then, it cried out a few times and woof woof, its body darted forward and began to run. The bat monkeys, flying squirrels, and rhinoceroses followed closely behind. That wolf actually ran away? That's too cautious. Junjin quickly realized this and couldn't help but feel depressed. The blue dog fox wolf was very slippery. If it continued to hide, Junjin's plan to decapitate it would fail. Junjin had many options to transform into, but the strongest was still the silver spear scorpion. Next was the black iron green lizard. Is it because I'm at silver level that the blue dog fox wolf took the initiative to retreat? What if I turn into a black iron green lizard? Junjin shook his head. If he turned into a black iron green lizard, the possibility of the blue dog fox wolf taking the initiative to retreat was very small. But Junjin couldn't rely on this form to deal with the blue dog fox wolf. The deadly white rhinoceroses alone could make the green lizard Junjin suffer. Junjin could also turn into a fat ball flying fish and hide his tracks. But the blue dog fox wolf had bat monkeys beside it. The bat monkeys didn't use their eyes to see, but used their echoes to detect. The fat ball flying fish couldn't allow Junjin to sneak up on the blue dog fox wolf. He would be surrounded by the bat monkeys before he could do so, and would likely be torn to shreds by them. I won't give up just like that. Junjin chose to persist. After a few chases, the blue dog fox wolf finally chose not to run away. Instead, it charged at Junjin. Junjin was happy for a moment, but soon fell into a difficult situation. He had to fight the monkey-tail brown bear and the deadly white rhinoceroses, and at the same time, he had to guard against the possible sneak attacks of the blue dog fox wolf. In the end, a large number of bat monkeys and flying squirrels were constantly harassing him and launching sneak attacks on him from time to time. Junjin relied on his hard scorpion shell and clenched his teeth to hold on for a while. Only when his scorpion shell was covered with claw marks did Junjin begin to turn around and retreat. The blue dog fox wolf barked twice in woof woof, forcefully supporting its weak body, and once again emitted a strong fragrance. Needle Jean was indifferent in his bones, but on the surface he showed hesitation in action. Then, he learned from the monkey-tail brown bear and obediently turned around, crawling towards the magical beast army. Under the blue dog fox wolf barks, the deadly white rhinoceroses and the monkey-tail brown bear no longer found trouble with Junjin. Instead, they took the initiative to make way for him. Junjin arrived in front of the blue dog fox wolf, just like that. He lay on the ground, his scorpion tail hanging down, no longer pointing upwards. The blue dog fox wolf seemed very excited. It had subdued a third silver magical beast while it was at the end of its tether. Its luck was too good. The blue dog fox wolf then circled around Junjin, observing his newly recruited subordinate. Just as the blue dog fox wolf's line of sight drifted away, Junjin suddenly made his move. He stretched out his giant pincers and fiercely clamped the blue dog fox wolf's tail. The tail was very weak and was almost snapped off by Zhang Jin's pincers. The blue dog fox wolf immediately let out an earth-shattering cry. It turned around to face Zhang Jin. Its subconscious reaction was not to escape, but to pounce on him. However, its blue tooth, which had always been successful, was only able to dent the scorpion's shell a little and leave a few imprints. Zhang Jin was overjoyed. The scorpion tail shot out like lightning. The blue dog fox wolf tried its best to dodge, but its left eye was still pierced by the scorpion tail. Die! Zhang Jin roared in his heart. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.